Okay, are the headphones working?
Yes.
Thank you. I think my whole house will be happy not to hear everybody yelling in the background today.
And you're on the air.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is the Executive Committee of Manhattan Community Board 1. I'm Tammy Meltzer, Chair of Community Board 1. Thank you for joining us. We've got a pretty robust agenda for an executive committee, so we're going to go as efficiently as we can tonight. Our first two are event route walk conversations that we will have a discussion in. If there's nothing to add, then we can move on. And then we do have a couple resolutions tonight, so I need everybody to stay as long as they can. Alrighty. So let's start with our 9/11 Memorial and Museum annual 5K run that's scheduled for the end of this month on Sunday the 30th. And who are we welcoming from the team?
Hi, this is Casey Cunningham. I'm the VP of events at the 9/11 Memorial. I'm just
Hey,
trying to turn my
Casey.
video on. How are you guys? Thanks so much for having us. This is our 11th annual 9/11 Memorial and Museum run walk. I'm gonna hand it over to Kate Tanaka in one moment, who's gonna show you some our route diagram this year. We're really here because you guys were so kind last year and warned me about the BPCA construction in the park, and so we have adjusted our route very slightly down at the and on Battery Place down at the bottom of our route, but the rest of our route remains the same. But I'm going to let Kate walk you through all of that. But you know, you guys are our constituents, we are your constituents, so we're very happy to be here tonight and share this information with you guys. And thank you so much for all of your support over literally the last decade with this event. So thanks very much, and I'll let Kate take it from here.
Thank you, Case.
Kate, can you do me a favor, be in presentation mode so it could be as big as possible? And for those people who are on WebEx, if you look just above where it says viewing Kate Tanaka's application, there's a little thing with a plus and minus. You can zoom in on your own individual laptops to see it a little bit more clearly. Go ahead, Kate. Thank you.
Okay, great. Excellent. Let me just play through. Is that better now for you?
Looks
Tammy?
great. Thank you.
Excellent. So as Casey mentioned, we're super excited for the 11th annual 9/11 run walk. The route has not changed with the exception of the Battery Park Lane, which I'll walk through shortly, due to our need to avoid the construction in Battery Park. So you can see here, the route is same as last year, where we start at Brookfield Place, travel north through North End, down River Terrace, and then back through Brookfield. The one change to note is once we start to travel out of South Cove and head east on First, we will meet on First Place here. You can see my cursor, I hope. We will need to have runners who should be passing around between 8 and 9 a.m. move into the southbound lane of Battery Place. So they will take over the southbound lane of the street. We have NYPD, which this is the diagram they have put together for us for the route that has been approved. Have bike rack in the center of that Battery Place lane. The northbound Battery Place lane will remain open to traffic. So it'll just be that southbound lane that we're taking over for runners. All runners should be clear by 9 a.m. And then once that wave passes through, the street will be open again through traffic. Walkers who will be passing through between 9:30 and should clear shortly after will be adjusted to the sidewalk. So no need for street closure past that point. So I'll pause here. Any questions on the route? That's the only change that we have to mark, and that's, you know, what we wanted to come and make sure we talk through with you all. But again, it's standard to what what we've done in years past. So the other changes shouldn't be, the other pathways should not be a surprise.
Are you walking along the esplanade or the sidewalks or the streets when you're in the southern side? And then you're
You mean on Battery?
on as you go around, yes, on to South End Avenue, Battery Place, and then I assume you're in Battery Place going up to Church, Greenwich, I mean.
Yes, correct. So this is a more zoomed in version. You can see the green just denotes the line in the center of the street. So again, we're taking over southbound on Battery. Once we come out of First, the red denotes the runners. So runners will need, just because of the number of runners and the nature of running for public safety here, we'll just have them be able to run in that southbound lane. And then once we clear where you can see the crosswalk here along Hudson River Greenway on the, again, southbound side, everyone will transition and move back over to the sidewalk. And then we'll have police help us cross over down Greenwich. The walkers are denoted by the yellow line. So walkers, right now it's actually, there's a makeshift sidewalk that has orange construction barricade. And that's where we will have a plentiful number of volunteers and course marshals and staff, making sure that once our runners are through, again, at that around 9 a.m. mark would be when we think the last runner would pass through, is when the walkers will then be moved to that makeshift sidewalk.
I do see hands up, so let's go to Jeff Galloway, then Justine.
Yeah, that makeshift sidewalk is not very wide. And so I don't know if you were planning on widening it for the pedestrians, or maybe I guess you don't want the pedestrians crossing Battery Place to the other side where there is a full-size sidewalk. But I mean, as it is, basically 2 people abreast is about all the capacity of most of that makeshift sidewalk.
Yes, that's why we needed to open the street up to the runners, but the walkers are very casual and we don't see any issue with them walking 2 by 2. They're not being timed, and they're not really in it for the experience of a quicker time. So we don't think they will mind. Ultimately, this is a fun run. So we took that into consideration. We also wanted to be able to keep the northbound lane open. So we didn't want to have a cross. We did consider that option.
And how many people total are there going to be, runners? Well, walkers, I guess, in particular, since they will take the longest. How many do you expect?
We're still counting through registration. We're targeting 4,000 total, and generally, historically, it's 50-50.
Okay.
So
Okay.
4,000 would be max. It could be anywhere between 3,000 and 4,000 participants.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, for me, Tammy?
Justine? Yep, Justine, you're next.
Thank you. Can you go back or make this bigger? Because I want to look at the area between West Thames Street, like south of that. Because I guess my question is there a reason why you're not cutting across to the Greenway and just coming down the Greenway? You're still going to have to stop and cross one street, I believe, and you're still going to have to close something. Can we go back to the pictures, or did I just lose it?
Yeah, sorry, no, 1 sec. Let me
That's
just,
okay.
I was trying to zoom in for you.
Thank you. And maybe there's a reason, but I was wondering if because the Greenway would be a better place, and especially at that hour, you don't have to be on the bike side, you could be on the walking side, and it's a huge space. And I do not believe, although I haven't been down there because it's, below 70 degrees, so I'm too cold to go outside.
So
and I
let's
haven't
see,
seen
which
if they've
area?
activated. So farther
which area?
south, looking at the, no,
Uh-huh.
that's north, south, West Thames Street. Yeah, yep. So you see where you come up by the Regatta? Perfect, stay right there, South Cove.
Mhm.
Instead of making a right turn, is there a reason why you don't cross South End Avenue? Because that's a dead end street right there, okay? So that's not really a street. and go to Third Place and
Mhm.
then cross all the way over to the Greenway and then make a right turn and come down the Greenway and then continue the route. So I don't know how
That's
to
a
explain
great
it to you.
No, I've
You know,
got it. That's a great question. We walked this with NYPD and we did
Mhm.
explore that as an option. Again, we were trying to preserve keeping the street battery open. So we were trying to prevent as many crossings as possible, which is why we're not going down Third. And
Well,
we
No, I
kept
don't
it
want
to
you to be on the street at all. What I'm trying to do is get you off the streets. Then the only street you have to cross is down at the bottom. How can you
so
do that?
here, Justine, hold on.
Yeah,
Do you
help me
Battery
see,
out
would be-
do you
because I want to.
see, do you see
Yeah.
where on your map it says ST at the end of West Thames? Right, that whole space that goes from the last ST down Third, Second, First, that's a large, very large open walkway called Pataki Way that's over there. That is not in the street, that once once you're able to cross there, you can go straight down the side of the West Side Highway without being in the highway and do the same thing that you're doing here and linking you to Battery Place. So instead of coming from around the South End Avenue, around the backs of all the buildings and around by the construction site, because currently where you have it, they have already started closing off in the construction. We can send you photos. You should take a walk
Yeah.
there now. First Place is partially closed right now. So
Yeah,
I'm
so
not actually 100% sure you're going to be able to make that turn.
correct. And there's just not room. You're not going to have the space down at the bottom. But if you can get yourself there's no crossing South End Avenue because it's not an active open
Yeah,
street.
but there
That's
would
park.
be you would cross Battery Place and need to close it as a result.
But it's closing north of it.
No.
Hey, Officer Ford here from Community Affairs First Precinct. I can jump in real quick and answer a question if you want.
Sure,
Yeah.
Officer Ford. So right now, the BPCA is actively working on loading in the end of First Place and closing off the areas behind what's labeled the Holocaust Museum. So we are uncertain based on the construction, because that's where their construction offices are supposed to be, that walk turn at the end of First Place is actually viable any longer.
I mean, I
Do you
think
know?
they assured all of us when we did the walkthrough and everything, and I think that that's supposed to be open. The only issue with crossing from Third is now we have to do 2 closures on the street to get people across. As we come across,
Closures where on the street, officer?
that's what I was,
Battery.
yeah, that's what I was explaining. So when we come across Third, we'd have to cross Battery Place. So we'd have to have officers there to stop traffic every single time someone crosses. Then when we get to the Esplanade, obviously that's wide open, that's free. We come all the way down, and now we got to cross Battery again to cross into like where Battery Park is. So now we're adding 2 crossings that every single time a group of people come, we have to shut down the entire street to pedestrians, vehicles, bicycles, everything. That's going to create.
It's not.
So,
That
no,
Battery
Justine,
Place-
hold on. So your point is that they will be on sidewalk and no streets closed until they get to the bottom of Battery and Greenwich and have one crossing there,
Correct.
officer?
Correct. The only other closure would be southbound on Battery. Northbound is still open, and everything else is still open. There's no street crossings. We're not crossing a street until we get to Greenwich and Battery.
And what time did you say that everyone was done so the buses and everything can run
9 a.m.
on a Sunday? Yeah, okay.
It's a very minimal hour window where we will have an hour and a half max that will have people moving through. And this, as we've explained, is the smallest amount of street closures and traffic mitigation that we could find. So this,
Okay.
Yeah.
Justine, if you're good, let's go to Morton.
Yeah, I guess I'm good. I still don't quite get it, but okay.
Hi, good evening. 2 quick questions. When's the last day to register? I might know some people who'd like to take part. And 2, what is the actual time you need to get there if you register to take part in the race?
great question, Morgan.
So-
Yeah, go ahead, Casey.
Sorry, sorry, Kate. I didn't mean to cut across you there. The last day to register is Friday, the 29th. Sorry, the 28th on Friday. And so registration will close at 11:59 p.m. And actually, if you register through this weekend, you can save 30%. We have a little flash sale going on this weekend. And we are telling guests to check in with us at Brookfield Place beginning at 7 a.m. between 7 to 7:30 is what we advertise. We'll probably shut that check-in around 7:45 or so, and try to get everybody in to Brookfield Place as soon as possible.
Okay, and the registration is at Brookfield Place? I mean, not the registration, check-in is at Brookfield Place?
Check-in is at Brookfield Place. The race will start there, similar to last year and years prior to the pandemic. Same setup and everything there. And the program is supposed to start roughly right at 8 a.m. with the race starting about 10 to 15 minutes right after that. And we'll send runners first and then walkers.
Great, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Morton. Justine, do you have another question or are we good? Nope, Justine looks like she's good. Well, welcome. We hope your race is extraordinarily successful. Thank you so much for being here, Casey and Kate. We hope you have a robust registration this weekend. Officer Ford, thank you very much for joining us today. Don't go anywhere though, because you get to hear our feedback for the next one.
Thank you guys so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, next up on our agenda, Lucian, can you make sure that you move the team over, please? This is our American Heart Association 2023 Wall Street Run and Heart Walk, which is Thursday, May 18th.
And from that team, we have Lisa Brooks and Elrose Frazier.
Yes, and if you could
Hello?
admit Meg Gilmartin as well, she is the
Okay.
Senior Vice President of Communications from the American Heart Association to speak on behalf of the
Sure.
event as well.
Done.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks so much. This is Lisa, and I think we're going to actually ask Meg to start with just kind of an overview, if you don't mind, Meg.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening. Can you guys hear me okay?
Sure can.
Perfect. Can you also unmute Megan Hallworth, who is my Senior Director, who's leading this campaign? I would greatly appreciate that.
We can certainly promote them and then they can unmute themselves.
Perfect. Thank you. So
Please make sure to turn your cameras on. I know we've met Lisa before, but please feel free. We'd love to see your faces. Thank you.
I would be happy to. Camera.
Everyone. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you tonight. So as Meg mentioned, my name is Megan. I'm the Senior Director of Heart Challenge here in New York City. And I just want to, say something before we kind of jump into the logistics. We've really had an amazing year educating and supporting the local community. I want to give you some high-level highlights of what we've been able to accomplish. So this year, we've actually educated thousands of New Yorkers here in New York City in the life-saving skill of hands-only CPR. We've also educated countless people in nutrition, mental well-being, diversity, and overall health. With that being said, we've also focused on improving blood pressure by working with federally qualified hospital centers, community organizations, workplace services, and faith-based settings for those most at risk. Plus, we partner with local food banks to supply refrigerators so that everyone can have access to healthy food to live a longer, healthier life. And we're currently working with lawmakers to combat tobacco and vaping, as 1 out of 4 students are currently vaping, along with many other community projects that we're working on. But that's just high-level overview of all the things that we've been able to accomplish this year. And so with all of that, we're so excited to be back for the 43rd Annual Wall Street Run and Heart Walk to celebrate the success we've had this year and thank those who have supported. And so joining us this year from the local community are BNY Mellon, Scotia Bank, Brookfield City, and so many other downtown businesses and community teams that are joining us. And so I'll just pass it to Meg Gilmartin, who, as she mentioned, is the SVP of the American Heart Association, to just say thank you and fill in anything that I may have missed.
Megan, and thank you all. We appreciate the time this evening. I want to reiterate, the American Heart Association is honored to be in its 43rd year at this event here in the city. And then most importantly, our commitment to assuring equity and access for all. This is an amazing event, which also has proven to be exciting to bringing people back to work and engage in corporations to assure that their team members are feeling not only involved, but also working on mental and well-being as well. So again, I want to extend my gratitude. Some of you haven't been around for the 43 years, so we're excited again to be able to celebrate that. So our vintage team is incredible. I'd like to turn it over to them to give you the details. We're grateful for their expertise and all that makes this happen.
Thanks so much, Meg and Megan. So I think I have met a bunch of you all before. Lisa Brooks with the Vintage, and I think if it's all right with y'all, I can start by sharing our start line and route plan for this year and just going over those details.
Lisa, one of the most important questions we're going to have as a board, as something that we've discussed with you for the last 6 years of operations that I can remember. I've been on the board longer, but I clearly remember it for longer than that, is what route changes are different than prior years? How has the community's feedback and requests been incorporated in this year's route?
So yeah, we've definitely heard your feedback over the years and work with our partners at NYPD to make sure we're doing the route that has the least impact on the community and people that are in the area. What we did last year is we made sure we rode with the NYPD officers to make sure the roads were opening and closing right with when our runners and walkers are exiting. So we wouldn't have extended closures, that the streets are reopening as soon as they can after the participants pass through. All that being said, this has been determined as the best route to limit the impact so other major thoroughfares can stay open with the route still going through the city.
Is that code for the route has not changed at all?
There's been one change due to construction, but besides that, we haven't made any substantial changes to the route.
We'd love to see the map, please. Thanks.
It looks like WebEx is asking me to do one thing.
If anyone wants to send me the PDF of it, I can put it up on your behalf if there's any
Yeah,
additional
maybe
setup
that's
you need to
best
do for
because
it.
it looks like WebEx and my Mac are not having a good time right now sharing. I'm sorry. Let me just send that to you real quick.
Thanks.
I just sent it over to you, Lucian, so you should see it in your inbox shortly.
Okay, I'm gonna keep my eye on.
I'll be very curious to hear which set of construction you're going around, because I know your normal start area will be under full construction. If you
It's
haven't walked that.
Yeah, it's mainly the start line. So I also, Lucian, shared with you the start line map. And we worked with folks from the mayor's office and NYPD last fall to determine that moving a block north for our start line would be the best case scenario to avoid the construction. And I sent that plan as well.
So I'm going to make a request because it doesn't seem to help. You're moving a block north in front of the school. There is okay, go ahead. And then my request is going to be any meeting that you have with NYPD for next year, so we don't have the same conversations that we have every year. And whether Police Officer Ford can help us with this would be fantastic, to include someone from the community board. It doesn't have to be me, but it does need to be somebody who can represent the voice of the community board, because looking at this map, I see you're actually going by construction sites that are active construction sites that are not reflected on your map. So please, I'd love to hear about the start line, which is now smack in front of a school.
Yes, and I've called PS 234 a few times and left messages. If anyone has a contact they could share, I would really appreciate it because I'm getting voicemail boxes full when I call. So next step is I'm going to stop by the school, but I don't want, I don't want to impede on their school day, but that would be great if anyone had a contact there. But their mailbox seems to just go to nowhere. I did speak to Manhattan County, Manhattan Day. There's like a preschool or a daycare that's also on Warren Street, and I've been in contact with the director there, as well as the parking garage on Warren Street. So
And about Manhattan Youth, which does after-school
Manhattan Youth, that's who
programming,
I talked to. Yeah.
which has programming that buses come in and out of, which is something that we have spoken with you before about the buses from the schools being prevented because then children do not get to go to their after-school programming because of the busing issues that we've had in Lower Manhattan. And it affects all the local elementary and middle schools that bus in and out of Manhattan Youth. So we've discussed this before. I'm even a little bit more distraught that now, not being a block south, you're going to actually be completely closing off access and shutting down the after-school programming. And it will also affect the school that's across the street, across West Street. So it's not only one, it's many. And I'm actually quite distressed about it. It's really, this is why
they've not mentioned that they're concerned, so I understand your concern. We won't be shutting the streets down till 5 p.m. So I'm not sure what time their programs end, but the street closures don't start until 5 p.m.
They close at 6.
Okay.
And the actual community center is open later. I don't know when it ends.
correct. And BMCC is still in session as well. But, keep going.
So this year, the runners, due to the construction on Greenwich, will line up on Warren Street between Greenwich and West Side Highway. The walkers will line up on Greenwich between Warren and Murray, as well as north on Greenwich between Warren and Chambers. Everyone will start traveling east on Warren, then south on Church. At Liberty Street, we'll have a water stop right by Zuccotti Park. And they'll continue traveling east through Williams, Pearl, and then Water, over to State, Battery Place, then north over to Third Place. And then at Third Place, they'll enter the Esplanade and then go north on the Esplanade to finish at Brookfield Place.
So there's a full construction site along Battery Place itself. Not
So
only,
like yeah, on the north side, right?
no, on the south side.
Oh, we were just out there this week just so we could get ahead of any construction. And I saw some on the north side. We won't be running on the south side. So on Water, we're on like the northwest. And then as we come onto Battery, it's the north, like just the north side.
So from Battery Place, from State all the way to Battery and around through, you're only on a northbound side of Battery Place.
Correct.
And there's a construction as you enter into Battery Park City, that whole curve that goes over by First.
Yeah, I was just there earlier this week, and it seemed that it wouldn't be too impactful to where we're going to be on the street. But
Okay.
and there's also construction on Water Street and Warren Street, and there's a lot of construction downtown right now.
Yep, there is. I'm somewhat dismayed that the conversations that we've had over the years, which included we know the streets close earlier than 5, especially at the start line. You can't just close the street for the start line at 5 o'clock. That's not the way that's worked over by there. And so I'm a little dismayed that the situation actually, for the consideration for any of the schools, is not taking into account. And while it's lovely that you've tried to reach 234, you didn't actually try and reach 234 to understand their flow of service and the needs that they have, versus telling them, by the way, we've already now been permitted, here we are, and you'll have to know that we're here. So it's a little, I understand it's a great organization. I have friends who run in it. I don't doubt anything that goes with that. But the one thing that we've asked you over the years is to have consideration for the people with families in the neighborhood and to try and figure out a route that we even asked if you could potentially start at World Trade Center campus and have a discussion with them. Those roads are already closed down there. Vesey Street is completely empty. So again, one of my questions is, why isn't there a ability to have that dialogue with the people who are running the race?
Yeah, I definitely hear your concerns. I personally, I'm not trying to slough off. I was not at the meeting with NYPD this fall because I got added back to the project after someone's maternity leave. So I don't know if Sergeant Ford or, has any insight into, what makes this the best route and how the decision was made. But I know there will be impact to the community. So like I said, our goal is to always lessen it and to, make it the smallest amount of time that we can do it, to still make the race, exciting for people and to be able to raise these dollars.
And again, my question goes for those from the American Heart Association, who we are delighted to have and to host. And I think Lower Manhattan has been your home for a very, very long time. The race has grown, doubled, even tripled in size. How many people this year?
We expect just
right
under
around
10,000.
Okay.
Correct.
So, the community has grown as well as you have grown. And all we've asked for time and time again is for you to reconsider a different route, to have a discussion with the World Trade Center campus, which has a significant number of already closed streets in and around, and to not impact to the greatest extent possible the schools and the after school programming.
Yeah, Tammy, so this is Meg. I want to certainly acknowledge that. I want to say that not only do I hear your concerns, but I agree and support with your concerns. Certainly as the leader in the market, I want to extend my apologies, as I was unaware that for the last 6 years, there have been concerns about this and needing to have change. So I do obviously want to hear and listen to your recommendations. I certainly will regroup with our team here to see what we can do. Is there anything else that you might like to suggest at this point so we can move forward to expedite this in a way that will be agreeable to everyone? Anything else you want to add? And again, I extend my apologies that I was unaware.
If I understand this correctly, you have already gotten your SAPO permit, correct?
A Vantage team?
It's in progress. It's not finalized.
But there is no desire or ability upon your planning stages now, a month before, to make a change to the start line and the route. Is that correct?
If the city and NYPD and we could find another place that everyone could agree on, I don't think we're not. As to my understanding, when everyone went out this fall to look at the construction and see where we could fit this number of people, these streets were what was agreed upon by the city, and NYPD is where this event could move, and this would be a 1-year move because of the construction on Greenwich.
It takes the willingness of the organization to partner with the community to rethink the route in a holistic way where we've had these discussions before. So I don't put this back on NYPD if it's we'd like to do it the same way. The conversations and the dialogue has to come from the event team and the organizing side to the World Trade Center, to Port Authority, to Silverstein, to anybody around there to see if those streets, and to DOT and NYPD. So it's a different dialogue. It's not just NYPD's fault if you're coming back just to do a renewal. Because you've already admitted that there was no desire to have any change in the route. You're only moving the start line because of the construction at 101 Barclay. Which says to me,
Yeah, I take that point, yeah.
It says to me that the community for years has been saying the same thing. And we got a lot of, I understand, but not a lot of action. So Lisa, if you're not the full-time person, Meg Gilmartin, I leave
Yes,
this at your doorstep to hear us loud and clear. I'm happy to
absolutely.
send you the resolutions that we have passed over the years. They are frighteningly the same.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's not that,
I would greatly appreciate that. Please do send them directly to me. So yeah,
please
we're
reach,
absolutely 100% willing to discuss this. And again, my apologies that I was not aware of that. I should have been. Ultimately, it sits in my seat as the leader in the market. And I will do everything to rectify this immediately and assure that not only are we addressing and having a conversation, that we are willing to look at something that is right for the community. This is our community. It's all our community. And we want to be collectively a team on this. So if in any way we have not been that way, again, I extend my apologies on behalf of the association and those who work for us.
I appreciate that. We understand the landscape of what happens for the community. There is on the other side, at the end of Warren Street, there is the ball fields that service the community, which has always been the struggle point for people trying to get there from the community to cross through the entranceway and the start line at the end of the day to get their kids to practice and things like that in the after school programming. I suspect this will not make it any easier because now instead of being 2 blocks south of it, you're directly on the cross street. Which, I mean, people can walk around. It's not that they can't go a block north and kind of go around you, but the burden that puts on the families in the community is a bit rough. So looking ahead, since I clearly understand there's no changes that are going to happen this year, we are requesting that you paper the neighborhood with posters to let people know that the street will be closed and what the routes are. And that should be done not only on Warren Street from Church to West. It's got to go all the way across because you are also cutting off one of the accesses to the main supermarket in the neighborhood.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's the school, and if you need help getting to somebody there, we will help you. It's Manhattan Youth. It's the other school that you mentioned. It's people who are going to need to go to the grocery store. It's whether or not groceries will be able to be delivered that day because your start line is smack at where their loading docks and delivery bikes are.
Yeah, I did speak with the delivery bike people as well. So we're, like I said, we know it's an impact on the community. We're trying to, find ways to be in touch with the community, and that's why it's really great for this meeting. Like I said, I think Lucian just sent me the contact for the school, so this is helpful to be able to help get the word out.
But you understand where I'm going. I'm talking about, if you want to talk about the things that make people's hearts beat fast, it's being able to get your kids, it's the groceries, it's all the rest of it. It's the impact. You have an amazing organization. You do great work. No one denies that. It's just trying to find a partnership way to ease the impact on a residential neighborhood. We don't argue about much of the other route. We expect
Absolutely
it.
agree. Yep, 100% agree with you, Tammy, without any question.
All right, Mariama has a hand up and Morton.
Just a couple things. Thank you, Tammy. I first wanted to remind everybody that the past 2 weeks, maybe a little bit longer, I think beginning on the 6th of April, has been spring break. So that may very well be why you were unable to reach PS 234. Only this week, the administrators would be getting themselves back into the building and maybe taking off some of those messages. So you probably should try them again this week or beginning next week. Also on the east side, those that live on the west side, we're letting you know about some of the potentially problem areas on the west side. I live on the east side, and I see that you have 3 streets going north and or south. Actually, these are all one-way streets, so they either go north or south, all in a row. So anybody needing to travel north or south is going to have to use Nassau only, which is also a one-way street, only going northbound. It does not go southbound. In addition to these streets only being one way, there are also very small streets, William and Pearl, not Water. Water is a pretty broad street, but William and Pearl are very small one-way streets, and in part cobblestone, literally made for horses, not even people. So I don't know. Closing those streets seems a little bit particularly challenging for the neighborhood. Also, there's a school on the east side and a school bus pickup on the east side, exactly at William and Liberty, aka Chase Plaza, on that little one-way street. So since you're reconsidering things about the route, we want to take all of those into account as well. So
Thank you, Mariama. Morton,
Thank
and
you.
then Pat.
Yeah, I just, I put it in the chat. I can only give it to Lucian. I put in the chat the email for the co-presidents of the PTA at PS 234. I'm sure if you email them, they could connect you with the principal and anybody else at the school that you need to talk to. So and we could get the email for PS 89 or Peck Slip if you need it, though I see that it goes south of Peck Slip. It doesn't really go up to Peck Slip School. So if you need to coordinate with the schools, we'd be happy to get you email addresses to communicate with the PTA and through them the administrations of the school. So I'm just offering them.
Thanks, Morton, for
Yeah,
putting
thank
that in.
you.
I made sure that they got it.
Okay, great. Because I get it from you saw where I got it from.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Pat, you're next. Thank you, Morton.
When is the race? I missed the date.
The 18th of May.
May 18th, Thursday.
Okay.
Yep.
So the next year, just so you know, there's going to be construction on Nassau Street from Pine to Maiden Lane. So if you have these three streets going, as Mariama said, going north and south, and people are asked to use Nassau Street, it's going to be closed. So keep that in mind for next year's
there's
race.
currently construction on Nassau Street at Beekman, so it wouldn't impact the run directly, or the run wouldn't impact it directly. But if all of the traffic, both foot and vehicular, is being pushed to Nassau, then that's going to be further impacted by the construction that's being done there on Nassau and Beekman. Between Beekman and
Also,
Spruce.
I
don't know
think
if this will have anything to do with it, but just remember that we had a building collapse. And so, it's between Nassau and William on Ann. And even though, so there's going to be all kinds of things going on, and Officer Ford might be able to address that. But for next year, just remember that Nassau Street will be closed.
so. I think Pat and Mariama and Morton and everybody have reinforced, Meg, what I'm trying to say. By partnering and coming to the community board, we know of construction projects that are happening very early. We know of things that have been presented. We would really appreciate having the dialogue early. So feel free to come back in June and put us in as a partner, and we can actually help you get to where you're going versus having this situation yearly a month before, which has also been a request that has been made in the past.
Thank you. I appreciate
we
that,
did-
Tammy,
yeah.
very much so. And we'll absolutely talk soon and ahead of the time so that the conversation next year will look substantially different than it does this evening or has for the past 6 years.
I'm going to hold you to that, Meg.
You may absolutely take full responsibility as the leader in the market.
I'll hold you to that. Alrighty.
I'm so sorry. Is there a list that we could get on to know when the meetings are occurring? Because we did reach out in February to be added to one of the monthly meetings and unfortunately didn't hear back about it because we heard you were looking for us to come to you earlier in the season. And we just weren't able to get into contact with you guys until Nydia gave us Lucian's email specifically.
I'm not sure how, because all the contact information is right on our website, Manhattan
That's who we
Community Board
emailed.
1.
Yeah, we
And-
emailed the email address on the website to be added to the meeting and hadn't been able to get in contact.
Well, we're all
We'll fix
here
that.
now. You have
We can
everybody's
we can
contact
work with
information.
if Lucian is the person, we can do that instead of the
Yes,
general inbox. Okay.
that'd be great.
We'll fix that going forward, Tammy.
Yep, that would be wonderful. And because I certainly know that we don't hide. We're here. All right.
Thank you.
For the executive committee, we would normally in years past have done a resolution about this. Let me do a straw poll and see how people feel. If we want to do a resolution or we want to just leave it the way it is. And we can do one post-mortem as well.
What is your resolution? What would our resolution say?
They don't have their SAPO permit approved. So
Oh.
it would be sending it to SAPO. At least Lisa said they don't have the SAPO permit yet.
But requesting that they change the route now,
Mhm.
this year? Oh, yeah, then I agree.
Yeah, then I would agree to do a resolution to do that if there's time.
We can get a resolution. It can be very simple. We can include the ones that we've done in the past because it doesn't sound like things are very, very different. So we would say, whereas this is an organization that has a long history with the community board, it would then say, whereas, this has nothing to do with the amazing work that the institutions do. We have quality of life concerns for access for the residential neighborhood surrounding in the schools and the daycare surrounding the start line on Warren Street and access to be able to get to those facilities as well as the supermarket. Whereas we have had this discussion over multiple years, attached resolutions. Community Board 1 requests that SAPO consider alternative start line locations on potentially even closed streets such as to lower the impact on the community. And I don't think we suggest streets. I think we leave that up to SAPO and we leave that to the organization. We can also put a whereas in that Meg Gilmartin and other executives at the organization have agreed to come back to Community Board 1 before the end of the year to discuss the route for 2024.
I'm okay with that. And it's fine, but I wonder if we shouldn't be more specific about what closed streets we're speaking of, because we've done this for 6 years and SAPO hasn't come up with an alternative.
We could specifically tag the start line at Warren Street as being inappropriate due to the nature of the, we only
Yeah, no,
have.
you did say that. What I'm saying is if we want them to go someplace else and start someplace else, maybe we say that. And I'm making that as a suggestion. I'm not going to veto anything. But saying if we want them to be on the World Trade Center complex and is it VC Street that's closed or whatever streets that are closed, say so.
They have to get permission to do that. It's a longer process. I don't personally know if they can. I'm going to let Betty go. Betty?
Thanks. I was going to say, we need a resolution at least to tell SAPO that we approve it. I mean, that's just a technical thing because it usually comes out of my committee.
I think we're saying we don't approve the current route in its current incantation.
What they care about is this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally don't have the objections that I'm hearing here, in that it's one day, and it's not even for the whole day. These streets open again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So as far as notifying people, I can get to these places and take care of myself on the day of the race. So I don't know that other people can't figure it out as well. Will it take them a moment of pause because they didn't think about it in advance? Probably. Will they be annoyed for the moment at themselves in the race? Probably. But that's kind of life.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, you have issues. It does shut down the MTA bus stops. It does shut down the Downtown Alliance bus.
So does every race in the city. I mean, so does every parade in the city. So we cancel everything because somebody might be put off for a moment.
It's not put off for a moment, Betty. You can definitely vote against it if you don't agree. It's not a problem. We just need to see if we're going to do a resolution that is pro or negative in terms of the current incantation of the run
For this year?
and then for this year, and then take a vote. That's it. So let's do straw poll. I know where you are. I've heard from Pat. I've heard from Mariama. I've heard from Justine. Colin, Jason, Jeff, Jess.
I'm still listening. I'm good.
Okay.
Uh,
Susan?
Well, I think it's late, and I happen to feel very strongly that we should say something, but I would hate to say we don't approve it, and Sapo's not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything in 2 weeks. I just don't believe it. And I
Okay.
think we can say what we want to say, and I'm all for that, but I don't think we should vote the resolution down.
Jeff-
Can I ask a question? What are
Nope,
the
Jeff's
consequences
hands-
if we
nope,
don't?
Justine, hang on. Jeff's hands up, then Jess, then we come to you.
I'm kind of in Betty's camp on this, with a little elaboration of, I'm uncomfortable in specifying an alternative of anything because any location will have some negative impact. And I don't think we have enough information to know whether a particular different start location would be better or worse than what there is now. It may very well be that this is the least worst route that's available. I think it might be more effective to do a postmortem resolution in terms of lessons learned for what may work better next year.
Yeah, we've got some of those. Lucian has his hand up, so Lucian after Jess, and then Justine.
Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, I think given the circumstances and the time, I think a postmortem that coincides with them coming back to report on how the race goes, I think would be effective because then we could really drill down after talking to the schools and other parties.
So we do need to apply for something for SAPO though, per Betty. Jess Coleman?
Yeah, I just want to say I have no problem stating our concerns generally, but I don't want it to get in the way of us approving this. I think we should approve it.
Okay.
Tammy, just for SAPO's sake, when we put that in there, we can put in abstain and then say the applicants agreed to come in the months afterwards for a postmortem.
Ooh, I do like abstaining. Colin?
Yeah,
You
just
said
real quick. Sorry. I try and stay out of these things as much as I can because I don't think there's anything you can do in Manhattan without disrupting somebody. So I generally just let people run with it. That being said, as someone who deals with these things like everybody else in this room, I just wish there was a better way of notifying people. And that's the only thing I contribute to this, just so we know when something's coming. I don't know what that means.
Okay. Gotcha on that one. Jess, are you good? Because I'm going back to Justine and then Betty.
Yeah, sorry, I'm plugging my hand in.
Okay, Justine?
Thanks so much. I guess my question is what are the so we have to opine and weigh in on something. What are the consequences of us saying we don't like it? Because as I think Jeff said and other people said, I support the concept. I support this entity. I support this race. I support their fundraising. It's just the issue of the route. That's the problem.
The honest thing is, I think what becomes most frustrating for us, and they're listening, is we've been ignored. So it's not fantastic. I mean, I
would agree with you. We have been ignored for 6 years. So I guess my position on it then is if there's no consequence and it still will go forward, because I do want the race to go forward.
Correct.
Okay, so I want that as my caveat. I want it to go forward. if there's no consequence to us saying we object to this route and we put in there that they've agreed to talk to us and they've noted that there were issues about trying to get in earlier, whatever, we make all the concerns and make it nice, except we say that we really have issues with this route because of these reasons and therefore we want you to rewrite it, like what you had suggested. And as long as that won't prohibit them from going forward, if it's not rewritten, then I'm fine, because I don't want to stop the race. I want it just to be better.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is a bit of a mixture. How, in trying to find a consensus so we can log a vote for SAPO, we can, as Lucian says, abstain on it, which I think maybe we should this year, and think that we should give the team an opportunity to come back and have a discussion post-mortem and see where we go and have them in June, July, or September. And that way they run the run, we have construction, we discuss next year, and we go from there. How does everybody feel about that?
Is that a motion?
That is a motion for an abstention.
Second.
All right.
Agree with that and second that motion if I can.
Perfect. So my motion's been seconded. I'm going to go by affirmation that we would log for SAPO an abstention vote on this, with the understanding that the team's going to come back post-mortem. We hope that they're phenomenally successful. They raised a lot of money and they're very happy when they return to us, and we can have discussions about what next year will look like. So with that, I'm going to assume everybody's a yes. If you are opposed to an abstention, please call your name. Hearing no abstentions, hearing no opposition, hearing no abstaining from abstainings. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Motion passes unanimously. And thank you, everybody. Meg, thank you for coming. Thank you to the whole team. I'm super sorry that you got the tough side of it, but we really do look forward to partnering with you. We hope you the greatest of success, and keep educating people. It's an amazing opportunity for the public. So thank you.
Tammy. Thank you. And there's no need to apologize at all. And I look forward to speaking to all of you in June. I'll personally, I look forward to meeting with all of you. Okay. Let's get ahead of it for next year.
Exactly. If you have troubles getting into 234,
I will not have any problems at all. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get you there. All right.
Thank you so much. Immensely grateful to all of you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Good luck with the race. All righty. Let's move on, folks. Awesome sauceness. All right. Number 3 is automatic attendance, review of the process and bylaws and discussion. Okay. So everybody should have gotten what our attendance is like. We were very flexible in many things over the past 3 years with the pandemic, and we have our own bylaws that dictate attendance. We have had members who have never been to an in-person meeting because we're coming out and we're coming back into in-person. We will not be at a point that we have been in the past when people were sitting at home and could log in to help for quorum. That won't happen anymore. So if you do not have quorum to run your committee, everything has to be tabled. Everything can't, like, you can't have somebody come and present like this today for a run walk and do the business because you can't take a vote. And technically, we're not even supposed to allow them to present. So what does vacancy and removal language look like? Okay, 3 consecutive unexcused absences from the regular full board meeting. All right. That's kind of a toughie, but it's fair. It's a quarter of, it's a quarter. You don't show up September, October, November. Your name's going on a list to the full board in December. Unexcused. 3 unexcused consecutive absences from a committee meeting, or more than 25%. And so what that means is if you've missed 3 or 4 committee meetings, you're going to get a note from the office. The office is not going to be calling and saying, please, 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 you've missed 3 meetings this year. We're all grown-ups. If you're here, you're here. We need you to come to meetings and be a part of the process. So I'm told by some people that I'm too nice about excuses and people coming and not coming. 23 is the year of everybody being on their own, making sure they get to a meeting. If you can't get to a meeting, you have an emergency, we have everything there. That's not a problem. But we will start, unfortunately, this year, if people aren't showing up to meetings, bringing the names to exec to then go to the board. It's a terrible thing. It's not something we've wanted to do. Usually we've had the office contact people because life happens and we understand that. If you need to leave the board because you just can't manage anymore, I want to be able to say thank you for your service. You were a delight to see every month. Please take care of whatever you need. And that's all I'm going to say. Does anybody have any questions on that? Oh, I see 2 questions. Betty, Vicky.
Yeah, my question is, what is attending a committee meeting? Does that mean showing up for 15 minutes? Does that mean attending for 45 minutes? Does it mean some kind of definition would be helpful because I'm not sure what it means if someone just shows up and then doesn't really participate to allow you to vote for very long.
I can tell you because I've asked the borough president's office that because we had that issue on the full board a couple times. And the answer by the borough president is majority of the meeting. That's not a 15 minutes. And if your camera's off for more than 20 minutes, you are considered having left the meeting. The way they explained it to me is it's as if you're at a meeting, you got to go to the bathroom, and then you come back. You're not usually gone more than 20 minutes. Make sense? Okay, Vicky, and then Justine.
I just wanted a clarification. I mean, I personally and professionally would prefer if we had committee meetings via Zoom and then the monthly meeting in person. We're volunteers, at least for the next year or so. Life's really tough. So how is that being handled? Are the committee meetings going to be via Zoom and then monthly meeting in person, or are we discussing going back full time in person?
My understanding, when the emergency order is lifted, then all meetings will end up being like we have for the full board. The requirement for quorum is in person. People who have emergency issues or others will be able to be online. But we will be back in full person like we were before, which will be quite nice for people who have never experienced it because the meetings tend to be a little bit shorter.
Yeah, I know, but we also have learned some lessons, right? We are volunteers. I don't mind volunteering. It's fantastic. But at the end of a long day, you want me to tell these people, I got to leave an hour and a half earlier, and offices are starting to hassle us. So they're like, where are you going? Personal time off. I mean, I don't understand how to get this all accomplished. So if we could tell the borough president, hey, there's realities here. Doing committee meetings via Zoom is probably acceptable to us all, and the meeting once a month is terrific in person. I mean, he has to make changes. I mean, if he wants professionals giving input, participating, these are realities that are happening, Tammy.
I don't control emergency orders. I just
right,
I
but
just
could you
work here.
please-
You have the same
work here.
ability. You have the same ability that I do. If you have something, you want to say something, absolutely write to them. See if that can be changed.
I
But the
will.
way
Okay, that's great.
all right.
I got it. Thank
Lucian,
you.
you're first.
I recommend if you want to write to somebody to change this paradigm, I recommend writing to your state senator and your assembly members. This is a state law. It was changed most recently in the last budget as part of a big compromise. So that's what we're operating under. The borough president certainly advocated for a more relaxed meeting, recognizing all the gains we've made in the COVID era. But we're operating as flexibly as we can under state law. The other thing I'll say is that as a person who works for the board, who's paid to be at the meetings, I do salute all of you for giving your personal time. You are volunteering your time selflessly. And as a person who also was a community board member, CB11 East Harlem, woo-woo, I know what it was like as well. It's a huge sacrifice. But the last thing I need to clarify is that you all are appointed, and so you're technically unpaid civil servants, and the law sees you as holding a public responsibility, and so the threshold is higher, and expectations are higher for that. And
So, I'm
so
sorry, did you
I,
say state senator and who?
And your assembly person.
and
Yes.
your
So
your state elected officials,
exactly.
yeah. So
Okay.
And we have those contacts in our
It's on the board list.
on the board list.
It's
Okay.
on the board list.
but Dick, you should for the ones who represent you in your district where you are right now.
That's right.
You know what
All
I
right.
mean?
Nick,
So
no.
anyway, so that's all I have to say. But the last part of it is, what does this look like in effect? This looks like once a person is accrued the number of absences, and we look at the data, we look at the meeting, when people log in, I know when people log out, unfortunately, and we also take notes when people arrive late. There's a space where we note that when people leave early, the staff has to note that. It's part of what we
Right.
do. And
Right.
when we submit data to the borough president's office for the monthly meeting, we write who left early and who arrived and arrived late. It's what they
Right.
want. So
I know what they want. I'm sorry.
Vicky, you're getting
Yes.
muted.
So
Next,
the last,
because we have two other hands.
yeah, and so the last
Don't
thing I'll
you
say is,
mute me. This is
No.
important because
So
we're all vying for the next re-election. They want architects. They come to the AIA, but you got to work with us because we're getting squeezed on all ends. You want
Vicky,
professionals?
state elected officials are the ones, there's state law.
Okay, but don't be mean in the meantime, okay?
So the way this is going to look is, once we tabulate that a person has hit that threshold that's spelled out in the bylaws, we'll add an item on the executive agenda, and the person is going to have to come to report on and why they have those absences. The result being, and Colin, it's very cute. The result being that there's going to be a archival document that will persist that has an agenda with this person's name being that they're missing meetings. So that's kind of like unfortunately the first step that we have to do is create a record. So that's all.
And trust me when I say this is not like something that I long to do. That it's not a joyride for me either. Justine and Pat.
Thanks so much. I'll be quick. So
Thank you.
consecutive meetings, that means in a row, and that's that. So you can come you can make it to every other meeting and be okay. Is that an accurate thing? That still gives you 6 out of 12. So I'm wondering about that one.
Our bylaws say 25% of the meetings missed.
So that's
for
how you
committee meetings.
get that.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. That's one. And then 2, I guess my request would be is before people are called out publicly on the executive committee, will there be a phone call to them to let them know and let them decide if they want to step aside and say, you know what, you're right, this is too much for me?
Office will always do that, and office has done that. They call
Okay.
people and they say, we're setting the agenda, we just need to know. And I've had a couple people say, thank you, no thank you. So
Yeah,
there we go.
there you go. No,
But
that
I-
makes sense. That's
I
not,
also
that's
wanna let-
respectful.
Well, everybody knows when they have a meeting, right? Everyone knows if they're going to the meeting or not going to the meeting. And 3 is an easy number to count to. And I really want people to stay on it.
Yep.
If they're going to go past 3, that's a choice.
One more question for you is, when does that counting start? Today? Or that when this passes
I
at the
think,
full
Tammy,
board?
we're going to start doing that once all the new members are appointed.
Sorry. But that doesn't mean that people shouldn't show up for May and June, right? Today and May. I mean,
Just
I feel-
asking.
yeah. All right, Pat, you're next.
I didn't understand if we are having hybrid meetings for the, we're having in person for the monthly meeting and hybrid meetings for our committees. If do you count towards quorum if you're at home then?
Only if you are excused by the bylaws. But you have to have quorum in the room. That is the primary thing that has to happen in order to conduct business. So if people don't show up, I will use the board meeting 2 months ago where we had 7 people who hadn't told me they weren't showing and they were online. And we had to tell two of them who were local, I don't care if you're late, you have to show up to the meeting because we need quorum. So committee meetings will be exactly like that. You must have quorum in the room. Each individual chair will know who they have of their committee, and they have to make sure that they know.
Okay, so
You know,
we
if
just
you-
stress that if they can't make it, they have to really let their either Lucian or their chair know that they will.
They're going to have to let the office person who's responsible for that meeting and the chair of that committee know that they can't make it. So for example, for landmarks, if I was on landmarks, I would have to email Jason and Lucy, and I should copy Vicky in case, you know, something's up with Jason that says, by the way, I have an emergency. I need to be online because I broke a foot and I'm sitting and I can't get there. But then Jason still has to make sure that everybody else is going to get to the room because he has to have quorum in the room.
Yeah, and for full board, you have to also remember that the staff, an hour and a half to 2 hours before the meeting starts, we're not at our computers. We're schlepping things across the district to whatever the meeting location is. We're moving tables and testing hardware and stacking things, unstacking things. So we may not be available. So we need to know early.
And so what I have said to people is that people need to let the office know before 4, which I think is really reasonable. All right, is there anything else on attendance? Oh my gosh, hands up.
No,
Oh my
can I
gosh.
just say one thing?
No,
Oh,
no, no,
okay,
Vicky,
go.
because other people haven't gone yet.
Okay,
So let me
I'll
get to other
go then.
people.
All
Colin,
right.
Jason, Mariama.
I'll be really quick. Is definitely the worst offender. I actually agree with all these. We need to be held to the standard. We are appointed officials. That being said, if there is a way to send out calendar invites, I swear to God, I'm just so busy that would actually really help. If it's not on my calendar, I'm very likely to forget it. So if there's any way that we can do that, that would be fantastic.
Are you not getting the calendar invites?
Only for main board only.
All right.
All right. Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
That's
Yeah,
good
you should be getting it
feedback.
for
We'll
every
take a
committee.
look at.
And
Thank
it's
you.
ridiculous. I know. I'm sorry, but again, I'm busy enough where
No,
it's
no.
on my
I mean,
calendar.
they're going out. I just want to make sure we know why you're not getting them.
Exactly. All right. Next, Jason, and then Mariama.
Yes. As one of the most attended, I attend more meetings than anybody. I'm the best attender out there. But I do echo, the reason I am is because my wife suggested to me like 3 years ago, put every goddamn meeting in your Outlook calendar. And like, so if we could do, like, there was a meeting that came, or meetings the week of, I don't want to say, meetings
The
the
holiday
week of a public school out. You know, like that meeting should have been shifted, even though I attended, it could have been shifted maybe with the foresight to what other week. Fine. And so
I will tell you.
maybe on the executive level, we could get together in person at the office and shuffle some things around and plan out a 6-month thing that helps attendance. Because I'm dying to hear every time that landmarks is the worst. And I'm like there, and it's one of those committees that has to exist because we have to write those resos. So I want
Jason,
to
I will
help.
tell you that the only committee that got moved due to the school holiday breaks was Youth and Education, because they cannot have a meeting when it's closed. We don't have meetings when there's any city, state holidays, stuff like that. I hear you. I hear you. And we are currently looking at the January to December calendars. I'd be happy to send it to you for comment. Mariama, and then Trisha, and then I'll come back to those who have already spoken.
So I wanted to clarify your response to Vicky. Were you saying that we have to write as individual, like members of the public? We're not allowed to write as groups or as a board or a committee?
We can take this topic up about open meetings law at a future thing if you want to do a resolution about future board meetings. We can absolutely take that up. Sure, no problem. Not tonight,
Okay.
but on
Because
the
one,
future.
no, I understand that. Yeah, because
Yep.
one of the sad things is that I think just the same way more members of the public have been able to attend meetings, board members have been able to attend more meetings.
You can
And
still do that though, Mariama. No one says you can't tune in hybrid. If you're in love with something that's going on youth and ed, you can tune in from home. You don't have to come in if that's not your committee. It's the people who are assigned to the committee for quorum have to be there.
yes, yeah, okay, I understand that. But we've been able to attend more meetings like as a community. So I could go to the community board meeting and I could go to my local neighborhood, a Southbridge meeting, and I could go to another meeting, like all these things at once. That's as Vicky said, that's our new reality. So we've been denied that if we had to attend everything in person.
We're not stopping that. We have all the gear for hybrid. So for those who are going to a meeting as a non-voting member, there's nothing that keeps them from doing so from wherever they want to do it. It's just those who are a member of that committee that need to vote have to be present unless there's an extraordinary circumstance as enumerated in a resolution that was passed in 2021.
Okay. Can we recirculate that resolution or has?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right. Trisha is next. She hasn't spoken at all. Trisha?
Hey, hi. I just wanted to say something briefly. I mean, I have a personal challenge I'll talk to you about offline, about second committee attendance. But the thing I wanted to mention, because it might be understood, I understand the importance of turning cameras on. I'm actually in support of it. What is less comfortable for me is the fact that these are put on the open internet. Well, I understand the meetings are public and, I definitely signed on to being in a public space and even having people take our pictures there. There's something different about being on the open internet for me. I speak in public, and so it is less comfortable for me to be on camera the whole meeting. And I just wanted to say that in case anybody else was having that issue. It's something new that we've been faced with since the pandemic. I actually didn't even know it was happening until a friend of mine said that they Googled it and saw it. So it's just something I'd love to talk about if we're going to go forward with, possibly having these meetings continue to be virtual, and ask why it's important to have that be on YouTube.
It's part of the public meeting record.
The law says that we have to have transcripts for every meeting and that, or minutes, and the recording acts as the minutes.
Is there a way that you can do it without showing people's faces?
The problem is you have
about
to
the
have a
content.
camera on with a vote. You have to have the camera on to be counted to prove that it is you. And that is part of the open meetings law. That was the compromise for the virtual meetings. Because otherwise, if the camera is off, maybe I'm not me. Maybe
It's like C-SPAN for CB1.
Yeah, maybe I'm my 14-year-old who's sitting here claiming to be me and voting. So that's, those are the kinds, unfortunately, those are the thing that's the downside is you have to have a camera on to be able to vote because there's no other way to prove that it is you.
Well, I just do understand for the voting. But I think there was something about the percentage of time that it had to be on. I don't know. It's just a consideration. It might be something that I write them about because it's something new and different.
Sure. When we discuss when we go down about hybrids, we'll certainly go over that. No worries. Okay. So now we're going back to the two people who've had their hand up before. Just checking if you still want to speak. It's Vicky and then Mariama.
Well, I just wanted to say that Wendy and I went to 9/11 Memorial, and the staff told us that they would love to host the monthly community board meetings in their auditorium. I thought I'd pass that along in case you didn't know that facility was available.
There are two complications with that, Vicky.
Oh.
One,
Okay.
we
What?
have to check on all of their technology. We can certainly take a look at it for full board. It has to be fully technologically available with robust Wi-Fi and internet connections based
Uh,
on how so we are happy to check in with Chris and see if that works, first and foremost. And then secondly, I'd actually want to do a closed vote of the board to see, and opinions to see how they feel about it. I'm not sure, me personally.
yeah.
I've been there 2 or 3 times and I'm kind of done. No offense intended.
Oh no, I was just saying she offered. She said, "Oh, please pass on. She'll
Yeah.
come there herself. You know, we have a facility. We'd love to host you." And Wendy and
Yeah.
I are like, "Okay, great. All right, just passing it along.
Well,
Thank
we'll take a
you."
look for full board and see if they have all the facilities that we need for technological needs to make it happen. Thank you for the reference and we'll check in with Chris.
Yeah.
Lucian, that goes on our list. All right, I see no other hands up. We're good? Okay, we're moving on to the next
I
one.
have one thing to say.
Oops, Betty, go.
I just want to say, when you're talking about a place being a suitable location for full board or anywhere else, if you'd also look for accessible bathrooms.
Yeah.
I have been to places that don't, and I'm not going to stay at a meeting where there is not a fully accessible bathroom for me. I just can't stay there.
Amen.
Betty, we're starting over on our list of where we're willing to go for full board. We're starting at 0, and I have just gone to evaluate DCTV the beginning of this month, and made sure that they were fully accessible. And we're not going to add anything to our list without walking through and making sure that it meets that. No more, going to school sight unseen for a big surprise on how everything is. That's over. We're going to do this step by step, and we're only adding it if it's a wonderful experience.
As much as I loved going to the downtown boathouse and sweating in July, we're not going back because they don't have Wi-Fi and the technological needs, and they don't have the right bathroom facility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, gotcha.
Thank you. We can always go to Citigroup.
Actually, yeah, that is a good idea.
They offered.
They did offer. Alrighty, so Intro 501A and the enforcement of parking regulations. Let's understand that there were 2 things that happened, and Jeff and I had a robust dialogue on this at full board. The resolution that we brought out of executive got tabled, and the resolution that Jeff brought up as new business got tabled. So the agreement that we made at the end of the second table was that the topic would come back into executive committee the following month. Now, there are several ways that this can go after Jess presents it. You have the resolution that we had at the full board we can modify. We have the new business resolution we can modify. We can look at it and discuss after presentation saying, you know what? We're just going to let this sit with city council and we're not going to do anything. But I did promise the topic would come back today. And so there we are. Jess, take it away.
Thank you, Tammy. Should I go ahead and share the resolution that we presented
Go for
last
it.
month? Okay. Let's do it. Can you see it? Is that it?
Yep, we're good. And same thing. If you need to zoom in, peeps, if you're on a laptop, remember there's that right next to where you might be seeing view Jess Coleman's application. There should be a plus and minus and a number, and you can zoom in.
Just next to where it says normal text to the left, at where it says 100%, can you bump that to 125? Go, yes. Thank you.
Boom. Thank you. Okay, so this is redundant, obviously, so I will.
Just wait, one quick
be
question.
quick.
Which one
Yeah.
is this? Is this the
This
the
is-
new one, the old one?
This is the original one that was from executive committee that Jess is going to present. Okay. And then we will talk about the second one, but we're going to have them both here and figure out where we're going on this. Jess.
Right. Thank you. So I will go through this quickly so that we can get to discussion. And I know it's repetitive. I'm sorry. But just to set this up, as you all remember, last year we passed a resolution supporting the original legislation authorizing civilian reporting of hazardous parking violations. We had some concerns at the time about various pieces of it, most notably the financial incentive that would be paid to the person who filed the complaint. Recently, there was an amended form of this legislation introduced in the City Council. They removed the financial incentive as well as several other things, and you can see it in this whereas statement, all the things that were removed. Many people, including myself, and as we talked about, many of you on this committee last month, were concerned particularly about the requirement that a training course would be taken, would be required before filing any complaint. I think all of us realize that that is basically a gaping hole in this. Very few people are going to take that course, and it basically guts the purpose of the legislation, which is to really start to put a dent into illegal placard parking and parking violations generally. So this was a narrow resolution that was basically reaffirming our support for the legislation we already supported last year and requesting that several of these provisions would be removed from the amended legislation. I'll go down to the therefore be it resolved. The biggest one is removing the provision requiring the digital course that I just mentioned. But we also discussed removing the requirement that the vehicle be unoccupied, the provision requiring the Department of Transportation to install signage in the area, and the provision requiring the Department of Transportation to create a mobile app. All of these we thought were pretty unnecessary and would just further reduce the availability of filing complaints and the incentive to file complaints. So that's really where we're at. And I guess I'll open it up to discussion. If there are any questions.
You know, we have several. So I'm going to go Betty, Colin, Betty, Colin, Justine, Jeff.
Sorry, my hand's not up.
Okay, Colin, Justine, and Jeff.
Yeah, I'll be as quick as possible because I think we all want to go home. I will not vote for this in any form because I just don't believe fundamentally that it's right. That being said, I wonder if one change could change people's minds like mine, that this be restricted to commercial violators. Just putting that out there for discussion. Sorry, just to explain it. I hate the idea of people tattling on people. It's weird to me and I can't support it in any way. But if it's a commercial truck unloading or unloading or a Uber blocking something, whatever, I feel better about that. That's all.
Can I respond?
Oh, sure.
Quickly.
No, you're not. Sorry, just kidding.
Yeah, first thing, there's already an existing program for idling commercial trucks to report them. That maybe could be expanded to include other parking violations, but there is one for trucks that are idling. There's also an existing civilian reporting system for violations by taxi cabs. So this is already a thing that exists, and it's really just converting it over to an area where we're seeing a burgeoning problem of illegal parking violations. So that's really what it is. And Lucian, I see your hands up, so you can also add to what I'm saying.
I'm going to have Lucian add to it because Lucian and I had a robust dialogue today about not necessarily commercial, but placard, and people informing on placards because NYPD doesn't enforce placards. Lucian?
Yeah. Thank you. I think that probably one of the worst things in retrospect that happened with 501A was that they included the bounty idea that came over from the DEP program to incentivize people to do it. I don't think people need an incentive to do it. I think what it needs to, what the important thing to keep in mind here is that there's a mismatch between the need for enforcement and the availability or the efficacy of enforcement. And we've had this problem that is on the screen. If everyone can see this vehicle here, this vehicle would have probably been in the public plaza that was on the White Street Plaza for the Manhattan Detention Complex for 20 years. This is a corrections vehicle. They painted lines on the plaza. They put name tags or rank tags for the parking spaces to reserve them. It was all illegal. No one ever issued a summons to any of those illegal vehicles, it was all tolerated for 20 years. It wasn't because there wasn't enough parking agents. It's because none of them were willing to issue a summons to this vehicle. This issue has not abated, even though that plaza is now gone. Now, I catch them parking in the middle of the sidewalk, impassable. And it will continue to go on. Nothing any mayor has done since Bloomberg made a small dent in it. Nothing's happened in the last 12, 13 years. The situation has only gotten worse. As just said, a program exists that is actually almost identical, but it only exists within TLC for hire vehicles. They do not have enough inspectors to get their arms around the issue. They allow people to submit through an app, GPS coordinates, photos, if available, and a description of what happened. Someone from TLC will verify that there's enough to issue a summons, and then that summons, once issued, goes to oath. And many of those summonses are dismissed. The adjudication process moves forward, and if there's not enough evidence to convict, then there's not enough evidence to convict. And that is the way that it goes. Now, it could be that this may be a program that should only be applied to vehicles that have public plates or are showing some sort of placard or dash or dash flare, if you will. Maybe that should be the case. That's up for you all to decide. But what I will say is that snitching, the concept of snitching, is what this community board is built on. I get reports and requests for enforcement from everyone that you can imagine for all sorts of things. And what I do, and I wish I could eliminate my own job, but I ask an agency to go and take a look at the thing that I have a picture of so they could visually see it, but the law isn't there that they can just accept the picture. And many times they either don't go or it's 2 days later and it's resolved in its own way, but the problem is moved to a different block. And I guarantee you that if the state had pitched a law saying that you could take a picture of a bar that was violating its STIPs for SLA, you would probably, that legislator would be elected governor in the following year. I think that it's touchy because many of us drive and we don't want to be subjected to this, but I think that there's limits here. The limit is, if you're idling at a stop at a fire hydrant, you will not be issued a summons through this program. That's the kind of thing that I think it makes the difference here. It has to be done with an app. That's for geolocating, making sure the GPS coordinates match the photos and the description, and there's still due process, just like any other kind of thing. But if we can't stop what you see on the screen here, we haven't been able to stop it for 20 years doing what we've been doing. There's no amount of funding of the police or asking them nicely or even demanding, honestly. I mean, they've been demanding for reports that they're legally obligated to give on this, and they're just not doing it. So, I mean, I'm at wit's end. And I know that this board is extremely against placard parking, illegal placard parking, any sort of corruption when it comes to that, but I just don't know what else to do. And that's all.
Okay. So thank you for including the pictures that we took, because I think it was informative. Who did I say was next? Jeff, is it you?
I think it was Justine and then me.
That's okay, Jeff,
Justine.
you can go first and then I'll go.
Okay.
I don't even know where to begin. I think this is, to the extent this legislation will do anything at all, it's going to turn all of us into scofflaws, and it's not going to have any effect on placard parking. The idea that someone is going to be out there taking a photograph of a cop's car and have them in the record that they may have to back up, that they're the ones trying to enforce it, when all they have to do is take a picture of some mom dropping off their kid from school instead. They're gonna take a photograph of the mom dropping off the kid. And Lucian, what you just said about someone idling at a fire hydrant not being caught by this, that's just wrong. I'm looking at the legislation right now, and it's creating new violations that include stopping in front of a fire hydrant, stopping in a bus lane, and not parking, not just parking, not just standing, but just stopping. And stopping means you go to 0 miles an hour. Currently, it's perfectly legal to stand at a fire hydrant. People do it all the time. It's a question on the driver's test that my kids took. Is that, is it permissible to do that? It is permissible to do that. And that's how people get dropped off in front of buildings. That's how you wait for your kids after school. This creates a new violation. That will all of a sudden be a violation that somebody can take a picture of you for. If the problem is placard parking, which is the only problem that I've heard identified here, then we should address placard parking. This program applied to placard parking. I doubt anybody's going to be out there taking photographs of those placard parked cars. But if we think people actually will, then limit this legislation to that. Because otherwise you're just having citizens rat on other citizens. And I strongly disagree with that concept. I don't have a problem with citizens holding public officials accountable. So or for that matter, even commercial entities accountable. But holding their neighbors accountable, I have a real problem with, unless it's a very serious problem. And it's simply not a problem of mothers dropping off their kids in front of a fire hydrant, or me waiting for my wife in front of a fire hydrant. That's not a problem. The problem is placard parking. And if you're going to have a remedy where you're having citizens rat on citizens and citizens enforcing laws against their neighbors, it better be a very serious problem that you're trying to address. And so I think this legislation is entirely misguided. We've identified a problem. It may or may not have any effect on the problem, but it creates a whole new set of problems that I think are worse than the solution. And I'd also point out that this is a very contentious thing in our community board. Yes, we passed a resolution in favor of this legislation last year, but it was barely 50% of the board favored it at that resolution. The majority of the board sent this very resolution back to us because they were dissatisfied with it. And the only reason I introduced the new business resolution that was against this legislation at the end of the meeting is because a number of you all, I don't know if any of you here, but a number of members around me said the sense of the room is we're against this legislation. Let's bring it to a close and have a resolution against the legislation. I think the reality is the board is probably about evenly split on this legislation, and whether a resolution in favor of it or a resolution against it passes is anyone's guess based on the mood of the room on any given night. I think this particular resolution is flawed. If we wanted to devote it to placard parking and have this very regime of citizens enforcing placard parking, I don't have a real problem with that concept at all. But this legislation goes way beyond that, and I think it will have a negligible effect, if any, on placard parking, but very negative effects on the rest of our quality of life.
Thank you, Jeff.
Me next, I think. Thank
Yep.
you. So I'm not going to repeat what Jeff said because I agree with everything he
you. I
said and I
appreciate it.
support it. The only thing I'm going to say is, Kristen, when you were talking, if I heard you correctly, you referred to all these different things that had been in place already that haven't worked. So all the reporting, all the people coming in and saying, do this, and sending the pictures and doing these different things that they were doing, they still didn't get tickets and they still didn't get punished, if I understood correctly. So it's even more so. But I also feel I hear you raising your hand. So clarify that if I'm wrong. But my position would be that I don't support, I think the legislation is flawed. Maybe if it was limited to placard parking. I'd have to see how it's written and what they're saying, but if that were the case, I could support it. But at this point, I am fully supporting
Not doing
against,
it. Gotcha.
correct. Thank you.
Okay, Lucian, your hand is up. I'm going to go to you and then to the next person who hasn't spoken, Mimi. Okay, Lucian.
Thanks. I think the point
My
I was
hand is up
making
too,
was
Tammy, just so you know, you haven't seen it, I guess.
I got you. You're after Mimi.
the point I was making about the other agencies, the DEP for the idling program and for the Taxi and Limousine Commission for their citizen reporting program. I didn't mean for it to sound like they were failures. In fact, the citizen reporting for both DEP and for TLC have measurably increased the amount of enforcement that they're able to do. In fact, one really impressive fact from TLC is that 96% of those that receive summons don't get another one in the same year, which indicates that it has an effect. So
Summons
that's
that the TLC receives, right? So it's
for the
placard parking
taxis.
you're talking about.
No,
Taxis.
taxis and limousines.
Taxis, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not placard related, and neither is the DEP idling, which focuses on commercial vehicles idling within ranges of schools and other kind of idling rules. The other thing is that 501A. I just want to respond one thing that Jeff said. 501A you're not able to submit a report if the driver is in the vehicle. That's one of the items that people were bucking against, but looking at it, seems to be that does address some of the issues about people who
Well,
are
but our resolution asks for that to be removed.
right. That's I mean,
I'm-
yeah. That's what I'm saying is that it seems that
If that'll bring people aboard to take that out, I'm willing to make that compromise.
All right, so okay. Lucian, you're done. We're going to Mimi, then Mariama, then back to Jess to comment on some of those things. Because I think actually we might be moving towards more of a way to get to a positive thing that doesn't gut everything, that sort of gets us to where we are hoping to be, I think. Mimi? And then Mariama.
Sure. Yeah, the idling vehicles in the Taxi and Limousine Commission, those are businesses. Like people use vehicles to make money in those situations. And so if they get in trouble with effectively their job, there's more of an incentive to not repeat behavior. Whereas with placard parking, it's not like they're making money with parking their, they just get to work easier, right? Like, in regards to the report about congestion pricing, saying that there was a line in one of the charts that said if we effectively like got rid of congestion pricing, placard parking altogether, that it would really help clean the air and prevent a lot of congestion. There was a study about that. It was in a published report. I think that either way that we go with this, I think that using that as a kind of leverage to push for getting rid of placard parking altogether for like the better, because we could have like better bike lanes, like we could have a lot more space on the street in our district if we just didn't allow placard parking, or the whole like city, like over by any police department in Brooklyn, like they back onto the sidewalk. You can't even walk on those sidewalks. Like there's like scooter babies like in the street. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah. My lifelong dream, no placards anywhere. Mariama?
So, my family uses a lot, several different types of transportation. And I always try to look at these things from all angles. My kids have bikes and scooters, and we have a car. My sister's in a wheelchair. So I try to consider all of these things. And I 1,000%, first of all, I 1,000% agree with Jeff, and I could support what Colin proposed. I think there's a huge difference between reporting on commercial entities, for-profit entities, than there is on neighbors. And I don't know, like, I don't like the idea of these neighbors being deputized as if they are, you know, aren't guilty of any infractions. Like, who appointed these people? They're these, it's just like a very self-righteous thing. I'm gonna, you know, be the police here against my neighbors. And the thing is, we're not going to be reporting police officers. When they first brought this out and we had to call 311 to report the police officers in the placard parking, I did that. There was a scenario on Ann Street where my sister was staying in a hotel, the loft on A loft on Ann Street. And again, she's in a wheelchair. And there was a car parked directly in front of the hotel where you would let people off and where the ramp is. So I had nowhere. Ann is a one-way street too, very narrow. So there's like no sidewalk there, nowhere to let my sister out of the car. So any other time I probably wouldn't have called, but because of that, like she was basically trapped in the car, I contacted 311 and reported that. You know who called me to follow up? NYPD. So I reported NYPD and NYPD called me. It's a joke. So people are not going to be doing that. People are not going to be reporting the police and putting themselves out there like that. So you are going to go after the mom who's, you know, letting her child out or her parent out, you know, like maybe in my case, taking care of sick parents and stuff like that. And I just don't want to see that. Also, I saw irony in the fact that while this was being discussed in transportation last month, in Pat and I's committee and quality of life, we had the police there, the first precinct, reporting on all of the infractions that bike riders are committing and asking us to let them know where they should be headed to write summonses and tickets for bike riders. So now these same bike riders are going to be outside taking pictures of the people in cars and you know, getting kudos for that when they're breaking the laws too. Because I actually thought, for example, that they couldn't, that if their light was red, but there was no vehicular traffic, that a bike could go. And the cop said, absolutely not. They have to follow every single one of the driving laws. And I wasn't aware of that. But the cops are wanting to crack down on them. These are the same people that are going to be taking pictures of people in cars. So it's outrageous and ridiculous. Again, I 1000% agree with Jeff.
Mariama, I'm going to say one thing on that. I actually took pictures of the cop cars going all up and down River Terrace, all down North End Avenue, all the way over on Vesey, over by Liberty and Nassau when they were there, and all the placards on Duane. And I actually took photos and 311 to every one of those damn cars, and then took and made a beautiful slide deck and sent it to all the different divisions. So you can't say that people don't do it. Now, I was mad.
But it was the police that called me back. It was a joke.
I don't care who calls me back. That's the whole point of this legislation. If I'm sitting there and I'm walking and I can't cross the street because there's a placard parked on the curb cut, I can report that placard and keep on going. It's not designed only for bicyclists. It's designed for anybody. If we want to say as a board, our focus is not to fight citizen against citizen, but we want citizens to help the placards because NYPD isn't doing it, and maybe this gets the placards, then we should say that. But doing nothing, saying nothing, does nothing to get rid of the placards. And it's not only the placards, it's the guy who takes his construction vest and sticks it in his windshield. Or I've seen nice notes. I'm a doctor. Don't ticket my car. Like, you're going to the movies. I don't care. You know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. But that was the exact scenario. The cop called me back and said, "Oh, yeah, we let that guy park in front of the hotel. We allowed him. Okay, so I just called you for no reason, put my name on your radar for no reason. I don't need this."
But you know what? There are also social media accounts out there of people who do take photos and post all over social media placards and bad parkers and all kinds of things. There are people who post, you know, bad bicycle riders and there's all kinds of stuff on social media. I'd like to see it come off of social media and do something productive so we can have better following the rules. I agree. I don't want my picture taken in my car. If there's a body in the car, a photo shouldn't be taken because I think that's kind of intrusive and unfair. I'm with you guys all the way on that. But I do think if we do nothing on placards and we say nothing, we don't even try and steer anything towards that, then we're not doing our job and trying to enhance it. So Patrick, you're next. And then Justine, I'll come back to you because you already spoke once.
Oh, well, I guess, like Mary, I'm a person who uses different modes of transportation. I own a car and ride bikes a lot in the city, but I think we're getting really unduly hung up on the placard parking thing. I know Jeff mentioned earlier that as far as he can tell, this is the only justification cited for the legislation. And I don't have a way to dispute that, but personally, I don't think that's the case. I think it's more than that. It's more than placard parking. I mean, it's delivery trucks, it's the UPS guy, the postal service guy, it's a construction guy waiting, you know, a plumbing van waiting for somebody who's gone up in a building. It's way more than that, and it's not the occasional drop off. Personally, when I bike ride through a bike lane, I'm a little annoyed with an Uber that drops off in a bike lane, but fine, I can figure it out. But it's the ones who are parked there, and whoever's parking there, placard or not, that's really who I think this is aimed at. So I offer that. Obviously, I support the resolution that came out of the executive committee last month. I hope to see that return. I don't disagree with Jeff in the sense that this is the temperature of the room on any given day, but I want to make sure we're not getting hung up completely on the notion that this is just about placards, because it's not. It's a little bit more than that. That's all I got.
Okay. Patrick, you've gone now. I'm back to Lucian, Betty, and Jess in that order.
I think one point that I did make, that after Mariama spoke, it became clear to me, is that, you know, we have, you know, I look at the streets, you know, all the time, and we have a curbside policy, right? Every street has DOT has thought through how that street should be used to serve the businesses, the residents, the institutions, you know, safety, you know, throughput, whatever you can think of. You know, each lane has its purpose for whatever stretch along the block it has. And in Lower Manhattan, it's all out the window. It's all out the window. And the ones who end up getting the tickets are going to be the private citizens who have to double park because they can't get to the curb. There's no parking available. The meter parking has been usurped by, you know, people who have real or fake placards. You know, the fact that you know that we are worried about this kind of indicates that nobody can get to the curb. Nobody can get to an actual legal parking spot because the whole system is so broken. And to get back to just being able to have real turnover and metered spots and alternate side spots and commercial loading zones, residential loading zones, for all those to operate properly, the corrupt element has to be pushed back, or else it's, you know, Lower Manhattan is never going to operate correctly.
Okay, next, Betty, and then Jess.
I want to say that, you know, I agree that placards and city vehicles are really the biggest problem, in that nobody will do anything about them. City vehicles will not get tickets, but at least there'll be a paper trail of who is abusing and doing the wrong thing, which could help. What I am concerned about, and I would also negotiate with, if it's really important to drop the fire hydrant from being one of the obstructions in the bill, then I say, you know, do that. But my question is, everybody here that I hear speaking is assuming that the driver that forces an obstruction is the good guy, and the rats are the people who are trying to get them to follow the law, because these things are already against the law. The thing is, what kind of neighbor really parks on the sidewalk, blocks a crosswalk? Across the street from me, where they put them in, they even have like a parking space because a car was blocking when they tried to line the area. So it's permanently squared off where the car used to be. You know, who stops in a bus lane? Don't assume that these are the victims. These are the people breaking the law at the moment, and hopefully, if what happened with the TLC, they won't do it, keep doing it and doing it again, because they are forcing a real problem. We have record numbers of bike deaths because of people being forced out of bike lanes. So don't see the people who are angry from that reporting the people who are not supposed to be there being there as the snitches. That's the terminology the mafia likes. It's the one the gangbangers like, to delegitimize people who actually want the law enforced for their own protection. And yeah, I'm sorry, that really annoys me that we, as a community board, are lowering to the level of, I used to work with gangbangers. And that's kind of the level you want to be on? I don't think so. Anyway, I think we really do need to do something. Placards are way out of control here. Thanks.
I'm just gonna say that might be a word I don't think I would have ever heard come out of Dr. Betty Kay's mouth. Pardon me as I'm sitting back here chuckling, so I'm sorry. I'm gonna Jess and then Colin, but where I want to try and go is let's right after we get through those two, I'm going to try and do a straw poll if we should do a resolution or we're just going to ignore it. I mean, I think we have some common things that I've heard. I think no one's going to argue at this point about getting rid of the fire hydrant park. We said we don't want photos of people in cars. You know, the car should be unoccupied. That's what I've heard so far. If we're going down a road to try and get this to come somewhere to curb something. Jess, Colin?
Yeah, I just want to say there's this perception out there, and a lot of people are saying that, you know, this like would sort of like drastically change like our civics, that this would be like deputizing people to be cops. This doesn't really change much. We already have a system with 311 where you can report violations, these same violations. All this does is say the NYPD has proven either unequipped or unwilling to deal with this problem. So we're going to cut them out and send this directly to the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings. There's still due process. There's still an opportunity to contest it. You are not a cop. You are not able to charge someone and drop a ticket on someone's car. This is just changing the process that already exists to make it more effective so that we can actually get enforcement of things that are already against the law. That's all this is doing. This is not creating new cops. This is not creating a culture of snitching. This is just saying, let's improve the system we already have for reporting violations of parking violations. That's it. This is not a drastic change, and that's why 29 members of the city council are already sponsoring this, because this is not radical. This is not crazy. This is a very targeted and rational, practical solution to a massive problem that we all agree exists.
Jess, it doesn't replace NYPD, though. It augments. It doesn't remove
augments,
the
yeah, but
it's an augment, not a replacement. It's just an acknowledgement.
right, but it doesn't.
Resources, right?
It removes the like sole reliance on them. Is what
Exactly. All right, Colin, you're next.
Yeah, just last word for me. I think I recall exactly one person using the word snitch, and the only other people who've used the word snitch are the people who are in support of this. No one's saying snitch. I think there's enough conflict in the world and in the city right now. I think there's enough road rage incidents right now that I really don't like the idea of putting person against person, and that's my fundamental issue with it. As someone went up to my car and took a picture of me, I know the rule says they can't do that, but they're going to do that with me and my daughter. I'm likely to get out and smack them in the face, right? So it puts people in a precarious situation. It encourages bad situations. It's just not right. I've read the law. Also, I disagree that this doesn't fundamentally change what already exists. It does. It encourages it. It encourages deputized behavior. And I think that's a better word for it. No one said snitching. I think one person said that. So let's stop phraseology.
Okay. All right, Lucian, Justine, Jeff, and then we see where we go.
I also want to add with the TLC program, the summons is not issued unless the analyst believes that the evidence provided reaches the threshold that makes it worthwhile to issue the summons. It's not an instant summons. So I just want to make that clear.
Thank you. Next.
So much. I guess for me, I only raised my hand, Tammy, because you gave two options: to do nothing and ignore it, or pass the resolution that just just put forward. I think we
Not,
need to have,
not pass the resolution that Jess put forward. Work on a resolution to go forward.
okay. I would be in agreement with working on a resolution to go forward that is along the lines with what Jeff proposed at the end of the session last time, which is to say we don't like the law, period, get rid of it. I don't think there's
That
any
is-
change. So that's different than what
That
is
is
being
different. The
tweaked.
first,
Correct.
correct, because we've already passed a resolution that we were initially in support of
We
ways
missed it.
back. This is the modification of this.
And I
So,
think,
right.
think we need to, I guess my position is maybe we need to,
So your position
Mm.
is you do not support any part of this, any part of any type of citizen reporting, whether it's
yes,
for any commercial. Well, commercial already exists.
it exists, yeah, no, which
It-
let's speak it to what it is, what this
So you
resolution.
don't you're saying that you don't support any individual reporting, whether there's somebody in the car or not, no matter where it is, whether it's a placard or it's private or anything. None. You
Correct,
want,
because
you
if
want
I
to
really
rely
cared-
only on NYPD.
Yes, and if I really cared, I still could call NYPD to call it. And if I really was that concerned, I could make a phone call
Okay.
and you could still do all those things. Everything that is
Um,
out there is
understood.
available to you.
Okay.
It's
Jeff?
just not empowering people.
Not going
Thank
to
you.
ticket themselves, Justine.
Correct.
Well, I know, but I don't think they're gonna ticket themselves. They're gonna get ticketed anyway. That's my point. And it's
They
just
wouldn't
gonna be
have.
people.
Okay.
I disagree.
With
I
that,
think
the
they
rest
don't
of
have a
them.
choice
Stop, stop,
now.
stop, 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 stop. Because what we already know is that there is a program for trucks. There is a program from TLC that those programs are working. They're trying to model something that's a little bit bigger for other purposes because NYPD isn't doing it. You don't want that kind of reporting. You want to leave it the way it is for
Yes,
trucks.
because
Okay.
there's a
Done.
distinction,
I've heard.
as Mimi
Done.
pointed
Done.
out,
Justine,
job
done.
versus
Good.
people.
Done. Jeff.
Okay. I probably wouldn't go quite as far as what Justine just said. I think I would be okay with citizen enforcement against placards. I don't think it will have any effect. I don't think I don't think any of them will get tickets, and certainly they're not going to pay the tickets, even if they do get tickets. So I think it's an exercise in feel-goodism that we've done something, but I don't think it will have any effect. But I do oppose citizen enforcement against anybody else. And even with the limitation that the citizen enforcement can only be against people in the cars, people, vacant vehicles, that solves a lot of problems. But the legislation still creates a new violation with a $175 fine for things that are currently not violations, such as stopping or standing in front of a fire hydrant. It says right here, that's the very first paragraph of the statute, that is a new violation that does not currently exist, which is one of the reasons that I think the requirement for signage is so important, because people are simply not going to know that this stuff is even against the law because it currently isn't.
Didn't you,
And
didn't we
still
say we
isn't
wanted
even-
to take that part out? Didn't we say that we wanted to remove that provision?
Well, I'm not sure.
I thought that we had said that
Depending
we
upon
wanted
what the thing looked like at the end of the day, if you get rid of the fire hydrant, that solves lots of problems, because that's how you unload a car.
Yeah, no, that was my understanding of what we thought we were doing. Was that.
And that solves a lot of problems if we get rid of that one.
Okay.
I'm on the fence on the bike lane, bus lane business in terms of stopping in a bike lane. Manhattan is crowded with all sorts of users of the streets. The streets are not wide enough for all of the uses to go on simultaneously. And so the way people make do is they stop for a moment in a bike lane. They stop for a moment in a no standing zone. They stop for a moment various different places.
Jeff, that won't be relevant if it is occupied. If you're in the car.
The legislation still creates this as a violation that can generate a $175 ticket if the cops were to enforce it. It's the limitation on the occupation only has to do with whether citizens can report it. but there's a separate provision that creates these new violations. But anyway, I could probably be mollified with this legislation if two changes were made. One is get rid of the fire hydrant, and the second is to limit it to placard parking.
Okay, next. It's 8 o'clock, so
Citizen enforcement of placard parking.
that it should apply only to placards.
That's right.
Okay, Mariama and Susan.
Yeah, I could support it if we removed anything having to do with private citizens reporting on private citizens. On government, on commercial for-profit places, fine by me.
Okay, Susan?
I'm in agreement with Jeff.
Okay, sounds like
Just a
we've.
question though, Tammy,
Yes,
and for everyone. If we wanted to limit it to placards, if I'm someone who uses my private car, puts a placard out, and parks on the sidewalk, and now there's a way for citizens enforcement against placards, I'll just take the placard off and ask my friends not to give me a ticket. So like, how would we deal with that situation where you just say, okay, I'm just not gonna put the placard out?
I think
You
if
know what?
somebody's parked on the sidewalk without a placard, they're going to get a ticket from the cops.
they're gonna get a ticket or.
But they don't.
You don't know that. We don't know that yet, but it's not a bad first step. You know what I mean, Jess? If it's really about, instead of citizen against citizen, that it's citizen against government vehicles with government vehicles and placarded vehicles, that's not a bad start.
What about a vest?
Well, but that's
It's not a placard.
Those
It's
guys
claiming
take
to be.
tickets to
It's
that.
claiming to be a placard.
There was one reported on with a tweet. There's a
Twitter
manager from Popeyes on Canal Street put out just a little sign saying, "Don't ticket me. I'm a manager at Popeyes."
Oh yeah, there's they put the construction stuff on 53rd Street. In between 6th and 7th, there's a bunch of private cars with construction guys parked with their hard hats in the windows.
At least make it paraphernalia.
Yeah. Or paraphernalia is a good compromise there.
Okay, so I'm hearing for paraphernalia, official markings
Placard.
or plates, and placards, or any paraphernalia that purports the vehicle to be official use.
Correct. And we are removing anything that has to, and the vehicle still has to be unoccupied. And we're removing the part that is by the law change about the fire hydrants.
And even if it's on the
What about
sidewalk,
Well, that should, if it's unoccupied, then it's parked, right?
And
If
that's
you've
against
left,
the law. Yeah.
correct, and that's against the law. If you've left
like,
your
but what if
car,
it's my neighbor?
if you've left your car and walked away from it running, yeah,
On the sidewalk.
it's unoccupied, and you should get your ticket. That's
It's gonna be stolen.
and it should be stolen. Yeah, but I mean, unoccupied solves that. Yes, Jess.
What about removing the digital course requirement? We didn't really discuss that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do need the app, unfortunately, because that's how they're going to geolocate so that people can dispute it or prove it. And that's what also prevents me from sitting at my desk and just reporting people on the street, right? Who I don't know or see. That I think is, part of like the 311 system. I don't think that's a bad thing. And the digital training.
It doesn't seem to be necessary for the TLC one, but it may increase the efficacy of people reporting and getting the right, evidence included. But I do see the benefit in terms of sifting through people having to sift through the evidence to do it. It would make it a lot more efficient.
It would
So I
pretty
don't know.
much, I mean, you know how much it would reduce the amount of complaints, and that's why it's in there. I mean, people aren't going to take a course. We all know that.
I don't know, Jess, I'm going to sit next to you on the course. I don't have a feeling either way about it. You know, if I'm sitting on a Zoom taking a digital course, I don't care. Miriam, is your hand really still up, or are you not?
It wasn't, but I'll just say that drivers have to take a lot of additional courses, vehicle drivers. No, we do. Especially if we want to avoid things like tickets and all that. We have to take 5-hour courses, defensive driving, so other people can take them too. What's the big deal?
Okie dokie. I don't have
different.
a bone in there. Does anybody else feel that it's needed? Susan?
Yes,
Mimi says yes, she thinks it's needed.
I'm all about training. I love training.
Okay, so we're going to leave the training course in. If somebody decides they don't like it, we can take it out later. With all of these, are we now at a point that we are comfortable and I can call for a vote?
Seconded.
Fantastic.
Okay,
So-
wait, take this one person by person because I feel like it's going to be
Fantastic.
textured.
Go for it.
Sorry,
Only
Lucian.
the chair gets to, my committee gets to vote. I don't vote, right? Justine votes?
Yes, Justine votes.
Correct.
Okay.
Just restate what we're voting on first. What's in?
So it's the support for 501A, provided that the reporting can only be done on cars that are presenting an official placard, an official license plate, or any official markings or paraphernalia that reports to some sort of official status for that vehicle. And then removing the previous critiques against having someone be present in the vehicle to be able to do it, having the app, and having the training course.
Should commercial plates be added to that first line you read?
No. Because placards don't have commercial plates.
Do you want,
No, I
but
meant like
Mary, I was
or
asking if
commercial
you want to
plates.
expand it to also
Like
include
or
commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So official placard presenting type vehicles and commercial vehicles, but not regular. So you're just excluding non-commercial vehicles and non-placarded vehicles.
Yes, I think that's it.
Is that what I'm hearing? Everyone's in agreement for those who are editing this? So that
Sounds good.
expands it a little bit to include commercial.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So, Meltzer,
Yes.
Cole,
Um, I'll go along. It just sticks in my craw, but I will. We said we would compromise. I'll go along with it. I don't love it, but I'll go along with it.
okay. Kuchia,
Sorry, no.
It's okay.
Don't go along
Lynn,
with it.
Did you say Flynn?
Yes.
So long as there's training, yes.
Friedman,
Come back to Jason.
Morton,
So long as it's limited to placard, I'll vote yes.
Morton, it wasn't limited to placard. It's limited to placard, commercial, those who put things like vests in the front. So it's not just government placard. It's a little bit more.
As long as it doesn't apply to regular private vehicles, then
It does
Okay.
not.
James, Mariama James,
James, yes.
Joyce, Trisha, is Trisha still here?
Sorry,
Okay.
hit mute.
Oh,
Yes, Joyce, yes.
okay. Sorry, I don't have that window up, so I can't see who's on. Sorry, Trisha. Kay,
Come back to me.
okay. Cannell,
Like Susan, respecting the process of compromise, I'll vote yes.
Mahoney,
Democracy in action, yes.
Moore, Pat, you still there?
Yeah, I'm with Susan and Patrick. I'm torn, but I'll compromise and vote yes.
Okay. And then I'm coming back around to Friedman.
Friedman, camera off, cannot vote. He'll be back.
Okay. And then Kay.
Yes.
Okay, gonna close this vote down. Jason.
It's all right.
All right.
It-
Well, it
it's all right.
passes.
Okay, awesome. We're gonna hear from Q Up next. Super excited team there. They've been doing an awful lot of amazing work on and have a blueprint for the open dining. It's I met Leslie, who's one of the leaders there, back in 2021 at a rally that Deborah Glick had sponsored. So they have done a lot of heavy lifting. We have a resolution as well after this that Betty and Vicky helped draft, which is amazing, about the bathrooms solely, but this is more about the open restaurants. You should have received already a copy of the blueprint, which Lucian, if you can put the PDF up and make sure that the team is over and they can begin to present. They go back and forth. I've watched some of their videos and interviews. It's pretty cool. So let's move Leslie and Stuart over and thank them for their gracious patience.
And Leslie and Stuart, tell me which document you want me to start with and putting on the screen, the 1-pager or the 7-pager?
The 1-pager, I think, is it? And I don't know how to turn my camera. Oh, I can start video?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel a little bit better not being invisible. There I am. I'm no longer invisible. And Stu should be here somewhere. I don't know if he's accepted it. There he is. Stu Waldman's there too. Okay. Thank you for inviting us. We are very excited to present this to you. Coalition United for Equitable Urban Policy is a group of 30 neighborhood-based groups throughout the city. And we put this together because the city council is considering legislation that will make the outdoor dining program permanent. And after looking at that legislation, we pretty much figured that it was going to make the temporary program that we have now permanent. We were all in favor of that program 3 years ago when it was actually an emergency program. However, that was 3 years ago and our experience of it has not been great. So what we have done is come up with our own alternative plan. We are not against outdoor dining. I happen to live in the area of CB2, which is one of the areas that has more outdoor dining than any other community board in the city. And just as to give you an example, we had 184 sidewalk cafes. We now have 954. By comparison, your community district had 49 before the pandemic. It now has 310. So you actually have a greater increase than we did. What we're proposing is in this blueprint is to actually increase the size of the sidewalk cafe program from what it was before the pandemic. At that point, it was 1,200 citywide. We're proposing that we increase that to 6,000. However, we are also proposing to close down the sheds and the roadway and the curbside use by restaurants. And there is a reason why we're doing that. Let me explain. There are currently, under the temporary emergency program, 13,000 outdoor dining setups. Half of those are sheds in the roadway. That half amounts to 90% of the problems with the program. And that means it's the rats, it's the noise they create. And especially for people who live in neighborhoods like ours, although not exclusively our neighborhoods, the roadway dining has created a lot of problems with access to streets by buses, by fire engines, by ambulances, by Access-a-Ride, all of that. It has turned our streets into a tangle. So what we are proposing is an expansion of the sidewalk cafe program, but not but not a continuation at all of the roadway program. The other thing that we suggest, and by the way, I'll go, if you would like to ask me how we propose to do that, I'd be happy to talk about it. The other thing that we're proposing is that there be fees that are actually based on, for the sidewalk cafe licenses, that are based on the real market value of the area in which the restaurant exists, so that people in the Bronx or a mom and pop in Queens would be able to afford a sidewalk cafe license. They wouldn't be charged what they're being charged in downtown Manhattan or even midtown Manhattan. We're in favor of that. We also would believe that there should be an 8-foot pedestrian clear path in any sidewalk cafe, and then also a 3-foot service aisle within the sidewalk cafe. That is the way it used to work, and it worked well when it was maintained by the Department of Consumer Affairs pre-pandemic. I don't know what your experience has been, but my experience has been that we haven't had 8-foot pedestrian clear path for at least 3 years, and we would like to have that back. The other thing about this program, the way we are proposing it, is that since it's not roadway, it would also be seasonal, because you're not going to be sitting outdoors in the middle of the winter. And we are proposing that we do not heat the outdoors in winter, and that we do not air condition the outdoors in summer. We think it's foolish for New York City to declare a climate emergency and then say, but it's okay to air condition the outdoors and heat the outdoors all winter long, which is just ridiculous. So in addition, what we would like is for the city and to actually conduct a proper environmental impact study, which they have not yet done. They said when they started the zoning text amendment, which I'm sure you all remember, that they didn't need to do it, but they looked at the program and said it would have no environmental impact whatsoever on New York City. Well, I think that our experience of the last 3 years has been that it has a huge environmental impact. The other thing is that we would like the community boards to be given a chance to do their job. Under the current legislation that's being proposed, community boards would have 30 days to handle all new applications for sidewalk cafes. That is actually just not possible if you look at your calendar. If you were to get every sidewalk cafe application, you couldn't do it. It's just not possible. We would like community boards to be given a much longer time to be able to look at new applications. And by the way, pretty much under the permanent new rules, everybody will be a new application. And then the other thing is that we want fines to really matter. Under this new legislation that we're looking at, and the reason why we put this in is because we looked at the new legislation, and it has things like the fine for maintaining an illegal sidewalk cafe or an illegal roadway cafe is $0. It actually spelled it out, capital Z-E-R-O. That is not a fine, that is an incentive to run an illegal sidewalk cafe or an illegal roadway cafe. We think the fines should actually matter. They haven't been properly fined at all for the last 3 years. So those are our proposals. And under this proposal, we would have 5 times the amount of sidewalk cafes that we had in March of 2020. Those sidewalk cafes would be distributed throughout New York City. They would not be densely packed into the neighborhoods of Midtown and Lower Manhattan the way they are now under the temporary program. So we know that under this program that the restaurant industry is not going to like this. On the other hand, what they would like is anywhere and everywhere. We think that what we need to do, and what we hope we have done with this blueprint, is to restore the balance that we used to have in our communities between businesses and residents. And if Stu is here, and I don't know if Stu has been promoted or can speak, but he could also add
He
something.
can. He
Okay,
can unmute himself
okay, Stu,
and turn his own camera on.
okay.
Oh, here I am. I can't turn on my video. I'm not ashamed of the way I look. I'm just technically illiterate. I just want to add a couple of points. Leslie covered it really well. But the heart and soul of this is getting rid of curbside dining. Curbside dining, there are 13,000 outdoor dining locations in the city. Half of them are curbside. They're 90% of the problems. The city talks about they're going to get rid of the sheds, but they can't get rid of the sheds curbside. They can get rid of the roofs of the sheds, but you need walls because you're dining between parked cars in the middle of a roadway. So you have to have barriers. When you have walls, you have rats under them. Walls and floors are rats. Anybody who lives near sheds, and I live near 4 of them, have rats all over their streets. Also, as I said, there are 4 on my block. The streets on my block haven't been swept for 3 years, totally swept, because unlike parked cars, sheds can't move to the alternate side every day. So that's another issue. Another issue is on narrow streets, which we have downtown. The fire engines, police cars, first responders, their response times are slowed. The fire department officially can't make complaints, but the fire union has made complaints about it. So getting rid of the curbside sheds, to me, is a no-brainer. There's no reason for it. Open restaurants with curbside sheds. Outdoor dining is sidewalk cafes. That's what it's been for the last 5 decades. Curbside sheds were introduced because when the pandemic ended, when the lockdown ended, indoor dining wasn't allowed. So for restaurants to survive, every restaurant had to have the ability to have a shed or some sort of outdoor dining. And so they introduced these curbside sheds in streets that were where the sidewalks were too narrow to have sidewalk dining. But there's been indoor dining for 2 years now. This should go. And if that goes, if roadway dining goes, so many of the problems go with it. So I just wanted to emphasize that and be glad to take questions.
Okay, Pat Moore, you're first.
Love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm in total agreement. Been saying this for the last couple of years. And it also would alleviate the problem of when you have a sidewalk shed and then you have a bicycle path between and then you have the sidewalk. Love it, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you.
So I'd say Pat's in support. Okay, Susan. It's hilarious. Susan, you're next.
I feel the same way. I think it's so well thought out and written well. And thank you, all of you, both of you. I think it's terrific.
Thank you.
Mariama?
I love it too, but I was just sitting here thinking while she was talking though, having been on the licensing committee for the past few years and the financial district committee before that, where we would handle these licenses, a problem, a challenge in this neighborhood is that we weren't able to allow many sidewalk cafes because our streets are so narrow, they don't have the amount of sidewalk. So not to defend the sheds, because I hate them. I absolutely hate them, and the rats and the garbage that they've created and everything. But I don't know how Community Board 1, or at least perhaps maybe the financial district and other areas that have small streets, maybe parts of Tribeca, would be able to shift into this other plan where we're taking the sheds away, but we're still increasing the number of sidewalk cafes, because that's always been our problem.
Can I answer that, Leslie?
Sure.
I'll take a shot at it first.
Yeah, me too.
The whole aim of this is not to have districts, downtown districts in Greenwich Village, Tribeca, Chinatown, the East Village, absorb most of the outdoor dining. We want to spread it out all over the city. So yes, there are streets that will not have any outdoor dining, but it shouldn't, it's not anywhere and everywhere. There's no God-given right for a restaurant to have outdoor dining. If you happen to be on a street that's too narrow, then you don't have it, because of that. But the restaurant industry won't be able to, they'll still complain, but they'll have no right to complain because we are quintupling the amount of outdoor dining throughout the city. And now a diner on Hillside Avenue, because of the fee structure we're doing, will be able to have it. And it'll be paid for by the big restaurant group in Greenwich Village, which will have to pay more.
The other thing I'd just like to add to what Stu says is we are unashamed of the fact that we prioritize the pedestrian over the restaurant on our sidewalks. Our sidewalks were designed first for people. And if there's extra room for a restaurant, then that's something they can apply for. But the fact is, we need 8 feet for people to walk down our own sidewalks. And we are not ashamed of making that a high priority of this plan.
You know, I'm not going to argue against you. All right. All right. Do I have any other questions? Okay, I see Justine clapping. She doesn't even say anything. Betty, you're muted.
Comment. One thing that I think I read as it was scrolling by was that you suggested they have to close at sundown. And if I'm correct on that, that's really too early some parts of the year. I would set a time versus something as arbitrary as that fluctuates with the year.
Okay, let me just explain that. It's said in residential districts. That is, in many areas, I know that I don't know precisely about yours, but at least in Greenwich Village, there are many previous non-conforming uses on residential streets, pure R6 streets. And under the new zoning text amendment, these areas which were previously excluded from having sidewalk cafes would be allowed to have them. So these are areas that are pure R6. And our view is if you want to open a sidewalk cafe under the new zoning text amendment in an R6 district, you have to close at sundown. You have to accept the fact that you have moved into a residential district where you were not allowed. You can be there, but you just can't operate in a way that's going to disrupt the residential life of that street.
But I do see your point, except that this is going to be a seasonal program. And so the winter months when sundown is at, 5 o'clock won't. Yeah, well, yeah, if they change it. There won't be any outdoor dining, even under the city's proposal. So it's mainly during the summer, spring, summer, and early fall. And sundown, 7:30, 8 o'clock, which in a residential district is, tonight it's
7:45.
7:45 and it's early spring. So, I mean, this is a blueprint. So there might be stuff that will, technically change, but this is an overview. And if sundown becomes 8 o'clock as a hard number, so be it. That's, we just wanted to put that in there as a line to start with.
Okay.
And there was something else that I would add to that, which is that as you probably remember, the zoning text amendment passed a year ago, and but it's been held in abeyance until this legislation passes, right? But in that legislation, just sitting there waiting to come into effect, is a provision that restaurants will be allowed to keep their windows and doors open at all times that they are in operation.
Yep.
So that means that when this legislation passes, the first thing that happens is any restaurant anywhere can open its windows and doors at the moment they open and keep them open until they close. And they're going to be allowed to open in R6 districts. So all of a sudden you're going to change completely that you have only business that's allowed to do this will be restaurants. And they'll be blasting their sound. It's not just music, although it's often music, but it's also the sound of people. You know, our view is that you shouldn't be allowed to do that. Avenues, that's a different matter, but not in residential areas.
Pat?
Well, you just said something that now I agree with. I was going to say you have, let the community boards do their jobs. And so as a member of our licensing committee, and Susan Cole is our chair, we have been determining what time sidewalk cafes needed to roll up their tables and chairs. So maybe I'm changing my mind. I was going to say, just let the community board do their jobs. We will determine based on specific locations what time it should close. But maybe I like what you're saying because they are going to have their windows open. So, but anyway, I still love it. Thank you.
I mean, the zoning text amendment kind of took that away from the community board by saying, we're going to let them keep it open all the time. We think that was misguided, I think is a nice way of saying it.
More than misguided.
That was incredibly kind and generous. Justine?
Okay, so yeah, that did change it up, because I was going to say I was supporting, like, for summertime, letting it go till dusk, whatever, sunset. But that's a good point, that if it's going to be opened, that will be late. Because the time people leave and get out, whatever, you're talking 10, 11 o'clock by the time they walk away.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm backing off. Thank you.
And the other thing I just want to throw in here, and we are concerned about the environment. By the way, it pains me the last few winters to walk around and see heat lamps in restaurants outdoors where there aren't even customers. The heat lamps are on as a kind of an advertisement. Come on in, it's warm here, But also that the city passed a law in 2015 that if you're running your air conditioner, any kind of business, you can't have your windows and doors open. And then in 2017, they said, except for restaurants. So restaurants have been allowed for 6 years to air condition the outdoors. I just don't see how you can declare a climate emergency and let just restaurants air condition the outdoors. It doesn't make sense. Whereas, as Stu pointed out, the Sidewalk Cafe program was inherently seasonal. If it was too hot or too cold to sit outside, you didn't.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts or comments? We are going to do a resolution tonight. Do I see any other hand? Oh, Patrick, and then Colin.
I was just going to say, I don't see the urgency or the need to do a resolution necessarily. I think this is one view. And while I agree with a lot of what I heard, what I also heard from some of the other committee members was, as you peel the onion back a little bit, maybe there are some concerns that we might have and we might want to think about it a little bit, but that's my view. I don't think we need to do a resolution.
Colin?
I totally agree with Patrick, and as the chairman of the defunct and inactive Small Business Committee, it really needs to be considered by a whole committee and not the executive committee. I was the loudest in favor of outdoor dining during the pandemic, and I've backed way off of that, and I agree with most of the language here, but let's have a real transparent process here.
Can I say something? I know this is not my business, this is your business,
Go
but
ahead, sir.
The city council is getting close to deciding this issue. And that's why we're going around with this blueprint. We've been shut out of the process. The city council will not have a public hearing on this legislation that is going to affect literally hundreds of thousands of people around the city. They said last year they held a hearing, but they didn't have the legislation. All they had was some points. And of course, in all bills, the devil is in the details. And so it's kind of important. I'm not telling you what to do. As I said, it's not my community board, that we consider stuff like this as soon as possible. That's all I can say.
Yeah, Tammy, I'm just going to jump in. Sorry, but I think
Colin?
yeah,
Colin.
I never do that. Just give me a chance.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just saying this is a really small executive committee. There's nobody here to speak to the other side. we owe it to people to open it up and have a conversation on it. That's all I'm saying.
I hear where you're going. We've talked about open restaurants. We have lots of resolutions about it. The concern that I have is my understanding is that the emergency orders will disappear and the rules will be coming down next month. So there is not as much time as I would like to hope and see, but my understanding is that rulemaking and conversations will be done as soon as they figure out the final agency, because it was an argument between the agency to handle. But this is not like, gee, we have plenty of time. This will be a done deal by June. Susan, Pat, Justine, Mariama.
As someone who deals with this, Colin and Patrick, all the time, and how complicated and hard it is, I would urge us to vote for this. It is transparent. We'll bring it up at the larger meeting. As both Stuart and Leslie have said, the devil is in the details, and it can be worked out. But I don't want to miss this opportunity to get it done, because I think the city council's not to be trusted either. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Susan. Pat?
Susan.
Okay. Justine?
Susan and Pat.
Mariama?
Yeah, similarly, as a member of both quality of life and licensing, if there's not an opportunity for this to come before one of those committees and it's that time sensitive, I say we vote now.
We can vote in general support the principles. We can also do a note that says the devil is in the details and the community board wants to be part of the rulemaking detail. So that will give us a little bit of flexibility and sway, basically reinforcing to let the community boards do their jobs. At a very base minimum, 45 days. I say that the other reason why I say that this is important to do is because the next topic that we're going to talk about with open streets completely excludes the community board in any part of the process, and I'll update you on that as well.
So do I call the question?
Morton has his hand up, and then that would be great if you did, Susan.
Can I speak? Just quickly, I think it merits a little bit more further study because I know, knowing some restaurants, I know some of the restaurants have really, it allows the outdoor dining allows them to increase their income without paying additional rent to the landlord and the landlords. And I know there's a negative impact in a lot of streets, and so there's a balance that needs to be struck. So some of the restaurants are still recovering from the pandemic. And trying to make up for lost income over the past few years. So I think some more study is necessary. Certainly limitations on in the street dining are called for, but across the board ruling that outdoor dining only is limited to certain parts of the year, no heating, no air conditioning. And I don't think many had air conditioning, but I know heating is a big deal in the colder weather, even when it's not so cold. I think further study might be called for.
Okay, so I think we know where people may come out on the voting. If we go down this road, I am in favor of calling a question and asking for a vote on this. I have a couple. I come from the restaurant industry. I understand about the losses. We've lost so many in Battery Park City. But at what point how long do you make up for the loss is a question. That, people have been able to dine in restaurants for well over a year at this point. Or depending on restaurants that opened and things like that, people can dine in restaurants. And the question is, this rulemaking goes in effect and is in perpetuity, not necessarily for the people who suffered and then closed during the pandemic. This is people who are starting off new and rocking forward. So for me, this is not about the pandemic restaurants. This is about the policies that this city has going forward. And there are many, 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 many types of businesses that lost an awful lot of money during the pandemic, not just restaurants. Retail stores for people who weren't doing street stores, hardware stores, people who lost jobs during the pandemic, hospitality, in terms of hotels and the people who worked there. If you think of the tailor and the dry cleaners, because nobody was going to work, there's no, permanent sidewalk bailouts for them. So while I appreciate many of the thoughts, I think that for me, this is about looking ahead and not looking back, and ensuring that when the next something hits, that we are really thinking about the environmental impacts, how this affects our city. And I have seen both heaters and air conditioners and vents and everything else. And it is astounding to have a mayor gone on the news today saying that they are going to solve climate change today. He has a new group and they're solving climate change. And then we have portable heaters now on every street. So there we go. That's my 2 cents
So I
on
call
it.
the question.
I'm seconding it.
Okay, I was going to
Okay.
second it too. Thank you.
Okay. So, as we said, it is in support in general of the blueprint, letting the community boards have their time and input into the process, which has not been possible thus far. With that, I'm going to assume yays. If you do, if you are
Excuse me?
opposed,
Could
hold
you-
on.
Okay.
Betty, what's up?
No, you originally said agree in concept, and now you're saying just agree with this?
Agree in concept, because there are changes and the devil is in the details. We may want changes.
That's
Right.
the clarity I wanted, thanks.
You're welcome. So, are there any no's? Come on, Colin.
I'm abstaining. It just
Okay. Okay.
Just-
That's fine. That's
I
fine.
just object to the process.
I'm okay with that. Are there any abstentions?
I abstain as well.
So that's Mahoney and Cannell abstain. Are there any recusals? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Leslie, and thank you, Stuart, for coming. The next one we're going to take a look at, we have a bathroom resolution, which kind of goes along the same lines, and it talks about bathrooms. Vicky contributed and Betty contributed. It's real robust about trying to get public restrooms in. It does not go against anything that we've already said. I think it actually complements the conversation of ratios, and you got a certain number of people, you got to get a bathroom in. So Lucian, if you can pull that up, that would be great. Whether you pull it up from the Google Drive or...
1 minute.
Okay. I had a couple comments on there, which I didn't put in, but I just left his comments. And then while he's pulling that up, I will give you an update on the open streets, closed streets. At Borough Board today, it turns out of 12 community boards, at least 9 had never heard, seen, or discussed or had an ability to opine on it because they didn't have any information from DOT on it. We were fortunate that Dr. Betty Kay had presented for us. We had sent follow-up questions to DOT that came out from the meeting and asked them to return information, which they told us they could not do during the public comment period. So it was brought up at Borough Board today, and the borough president will send a letter to DOT asking them to extend the comment period and present to ensure that every community board has had an opportunity to hear a presentation and ask questions, because there was no minimal answers to questions raised. Okay, so here we go. This is going in looking at, we passed a resolution saying there weren't enough bathrooms, well-documented complaints, that bathroom access is a basic human need. Obviously restaurants are required to provide them as long as they have 20 or more seats that are opened after 1977. Scroll down a little bit, please. Now, the one thing that we do is we do say that we shouldn't any longer exempt them from having a bathroom. And every seat of square footage needs to be included in the occupancy load and size. And we're saying that establishments that operate sidewalk and or roadway cafe and the permanent restaurant dining, outdoor dining, even if it's seasonal, should include, which then will take care of the restaurants. I'll use one of our local corner restaurants that has a certain number inside, but has been able to more than double their seating capacity between roadbed and sidewalk. And then section 403, occupancy. Okay, there you go. And that the occupant load for seasonal outdoor and entertainment areas shall be included when determining minimum number of facilities required. What we didn't include is delivery people that access and serve, but that's okay. There we go, CB2, therefore be it resolved. We entreat the city council person, which I'd like to change that to city council, our council member, and the rulemaking and DOB and DOH, where they all should get together to solve this problem. If you go down a little bit, there you go. To ensure that the rules require sidewalk and roadbed cafes are included in the bar's capacity load and footprint, plumbing fixtures, verifying that all program participants have or have access to the required number of toilets for their maximum occupancy, and to work with DCP for seating capacity, that they're no longer exempt. That's a tough one. It's something that we should definitely talk about, because if you think a little restaurant with 20 seats isn't required to have a bathroom, but where do those people go? Yeah. And therefore be it resolved is when they file for renovations to include that they must actually upgrade. Now, the only thing that we don't specify that they have to provide the bathroom in the roadbed dining, that it could be a seasonal one. That's the only other strange thing that we could say, is that with their additional capacity in seasonal, they can provide a seasonal facility to increase their occupancy. That's one of the conversations that we have had on the board before that I thought might be interesting to add, but looking for feedback from people. And a lot of the folks who have been in the bathroom discussions. Questions, comments? Did everybody go to the bathroom on me? Betty? Betty? You're muted.
Your comment about, it's in a whereas, about the flexibility and how it's offered, so it could be outdoors or even shared between restaurants, such as on a restaurant street.
Okay, I can do with that. Got it. Thank
Sorry,
you.
what is Patty saying?
It says, if you take a look at that whereas paragraph, it says flexibility is needed in how bathroom access is provided in order to address the increased capacity and load. Options for outdoor siting and shared facilities, especially where the multiple outdoor restaurants on a block should not be excluded, which allows some of those tightly knit locations that have like 3-4 outside seating areas to be able to bond together to provide a shared public restroom.
That makes sense. And Betty's agreeing with it. She just wanted to see what it said.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Betty.
Oh, she's done a lot of the heavy lifting here.
I wrote it. I wrote it.
Yeah. She's done
Yeah.
the heavy
No,
lifting.
I figured as much. That's why I'm
Yeah.
being quiet. I just wanted to figure out what you were saying.
No, I
It
wanted
was-
to, the reason Throne was picked as well too, is that is one of the ones that can be seasonal in that it doesn't fix into anything. So there's no expense. It's just a matter of putting it there and then you can remove it.
Okay, Pat?
Yeah, that was one of the things we had talked about. Of course, I wanted them to have bathrooms all year round for the public. But the other issue is if the reso we just voted on were to pass and the city were to adopt that, then we wouldn't even have to, I don't know how it would affect our need to have bathrooms if we went back to sidewalk cafes and not every, I'm just bringing it up, and not every restaurant had a shed.
That's true, but some will still be able to have sheds even under the other one. And so if they are able to have 1 or 2 sheds, depending on whether they're a corner lot or not, this would still kick in and opine.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Seeing no questions, and I know everybody's tired, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to vote on this resolution.
I second it.
Fantastic. All in
Aye.
favor will be a yes. Do I have any abstentions? Do I have any noes? Do I have any recusals? Motion passes. Fantastic. All righty, awesome. That goes.
Good
All right.
job, guys, who put this
Thank
together.
you.
Very well done.
I gave you the note about open streets amendments to the DOT traffic rules. The only thing that I think, because we don't need to pass a resolution tonight, because on Borough Board they said they were going to write a letter. The borough president was going to write a letter, so I don't think we necessarily have to tonight do a resolution, unless we want to do a resolution that says we need time to figure this out and work through it. Please extend the public comment period. That's the only, because right now it ends the 26th. Right, Betty? 26th? Yeah. Does anybody want to do that? Okay, we'll wait for Borough Board to take it through. I will tell you this discussion was really hot. The current system on open streets, CB10 was having a meltdown because there was an organization that has a permit for a closed street. They barely use it. People have complained they can't get the street reopened. It's not, all the fears that one might have. And there's several series that they have uptown of streets that are partially open, partially closed, that people are complaining about, and it has not been changed. The community board's advocating. So they were completely unhappy about the removal of the community board in any of the process, and the fact that there was no public notification requirements prior to approvals of the permits. So those were a lot of the conversations that were had, and my comment at Borough Board was I didn't understand why it wasn't kind of like a SAPO permit, that they came to a community board, and if it became a regular thing, it became a regular thing. But why the community board was cut out of the process in its entirety was unknown to me. So that's my full report from from Borough Board this morning on this topic. Any questions? Pat?
I have something totally different. I don't have a question. I have a totally different topic.
Okay, any other questions on this? Does anybody think we need to do a resolution, or just let the borough president handle? Let the borough president handle. Great. Hearing none. Pat?
I wanted to bring up what happened last night, and we had discussed the possibility of doing a very quick reso. So last night at Quality of Life, as every other month, everybody knows that GDC comes to talk about the construction projects that are going on and the borough-based jail project. So as the conversation started about the deconstruction continuing on the borough-based jail, our elected officials chimed in. It was Assemblymember Lee, Senator Kavanaugh, and Councilmember Marte, and all heck broke loose because they had a separate meeting with the city. I'm not sure exactly who they met with, but they had a meeting with the mayor's people, shall I say, and they were promised additional information about why the construction or deconstruction needed to continue and why further thought hadn't been given to using the existing buildings for other purposes, repurposing those buildings. And they wanted the deconstruction to be halted while they got the information that they asked for and were not given. So I asked Tammy if she thought it might be a good idea if we did a quick resolution about urging the mayor to give them to halt the deconstruction and to give our elected officials and the community the information that they asked for about why the jails those buildings couldn't be repurposed.
So I will add to what you're saying, Pat. The meeting was with all of our local electeds, including the congressman. The community, Alice and I were both there, as well as Vera. Neighbors United Below Canal were there. Architects were there. DDC, the mayor's office. It was, I think, Department of Criminal, all of the Department of Correctional was there. Everybody was there. And yes, there was a promise that all the documents would be shared. No, not all the documents have been shared. Only some were shared. Yes, they were supposed to get back to all the electeds on several things. And instead of getting back to them, the decision was made that they were just going forward. So yes, that's the information you were missing in between. Susan and Justine.
I would just say if we could get a quick resolution or a resolution to present new business at the meeting, we should do it. That's all. And then I only have two other things to say. That we have a very contentious licensing, which I'd like to postpone. I just want to tell everybody it's at 456 Greenwich. And the other is that I didn't know that they were closing down the whole area by Bowling Green because there's going to be construction. Did we know this? I didn't know this. I only found out when I went to put my compost.
That's the Battery Park City Resiliency Project that goes all the way over on the south side of Battery Place to the bottom of Broadway.
Okay.
The MTA also may be doing work as well.
I think it's not that, Tammy. I think it's something else. Would you find out, Lucian, please?
Sure.
Yeah,
That's
I'll
all.
see. Because our promoter, Joe Giovanni, said that we had to move one of our street events that was using Bowling Green Park. And he says an MTA, but he may have been generalizing. So I'll find out for sure. But I also let Infinity know
I
that that
know.
was going to be an
He
issue
told
as
me.
well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Check DOT as well, because they're doing subsurface work around the battery. So yeah, okay. Pat, you okay with doing it as new business? I'll put it on the full board's agenda as new business.
And what does that mean in terms of a reso? We'll construct a reso at the meeting, or should we come with something?
No, we would
mean-
come basically on what we discussed this evening. That says, reso to demand the city stop until information is provided.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as simple as that.
Okay.
Pat,
Just
I can
me?
help you with that. I was gonna say, I would agree with that, whether we did it tonight or we did it for full board, that's fine. But Pat, I'm happy to help you make the resolution, put it together, simple and easy. That's something that would be useful.
Yep. Perfect.
Sounds good.
Anybody have anything else? Perfect. I feel no need to go over committee reports. I'm pretty much stuck my nose in most committees this month, so I know what's going on. Sometimes I just try and lurk in the background. It's a fun spot to be. Lucian?
I spoke with Paul. I communicated with him by email. He wanted to let everyone know that the Parks Antiquities office, they had a conversation with leadership about some of the finer points of their art project in Elizabeth Berger Park. And so to properly digest those, they're going to adjourn their appearance and come in May at the earliest. So that's good news that they're taking that time to really explore what they heard. So there will be no Waterfront Parks and Recreation meeting next week. It is canceled.
Cool. Alrighty. Anybody have anything else Susan, you'll let me know if your contentious issue stays or if they decide to return next month.
We're going to try to have them return next month. I think that's the smartest.
Sounds good. And I love the fact that so many of our committees had such fun contentious things this month. Lucian, go.
Also, just while Alice is not here, I just want to just peep about EPC. Nothing contentious, but just want to let everyone know that they did discuss funding mechanisms. It's going to be kind of a long sprint to get the money that we need for resiliency. Whether we like the design or not, without funding, there's nothing on the west side, especially. And then for the east side, or for the rest of the district and the city, the city has to stand up its own capabilities to do funding. So it's a conversation that I think has lots of important implications for Lower Manhattan, and I just invite everyone to just tune in because I think it affects everyone.
Exactly.
If I jump in, we have a resolution in Battery Park City Committee about the feedback from the community as to the communication resiliency. It shouldn't be a contentious, but it should be flowing with what Lucian was just saying.
Fantastic. All righty. Anybody else? Please, let's say no, right? Okay, 9:10. I'm going to make a motion to close the meeting.
Seconded.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. I'm really appreciative of your time, of your talents, and have a great night. I'll see you next week at DCTV.
Where is
Wait,
that? Oh, you'll let us
Where is
know.
that? DCTV is
Lafayette and White. Everyone, White Street entrance, please. The White Street entrance. Do not enter via Lafayette. We're going in the new, renovated main theater space, and that is accessed on the White Street entrance. It doesn't have an address because the city didn't assign it a number for that address, but DCTV is on the main entrance is on Lafayette for the firehouse, the old firehouse. But we want you to go around the corner to White Street to that entrance.
We're gonna send an email out with a little arrow so people know.
Oh, good.
We're
That's
super
a good
excited.
idea.
Would be nice. I need a visual on
So,
whatever it is.
so
trying to
the I can't think of the name of it, but it's part food bank, part homeless shelter. That's the other block of it.
That's right. Exactly.
It's block south. Okay, yeah.
Across the street from Bowery Mission.
Actually,
You'll
it's,
also
it's very easy to see on Google Maps.
exactly, and you'll see a nice note from me that says, "Please join us a little early if you'd like a little bit of a popcorn."
It's actually right across from the judge's entrance to the civil court. And my
There you
office
go.
is around the corner.
There you go.
That's
Good to
right.
know.
That's right.
So you can pop out early and meet us for popcorn.
That's it. All right.
All right.
Good night,
Thank you,
guys.
everybody.
All
See
All right.
ya.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Stop the